get out of jail.
Hey, I would ask it. I have no problem asking that.
I don't have a problem either.
Yeah, I think Cheryl's got a good question there.
I mean, if they didn't make it as wide as they weren't supposed to, then we wouldn't have to come up with this extra $7,000. It should be coming out of their pocket, not ours.
I agree. But who's going to be the one to tell him? Anthony.
Well, if Anthony has, like I said, I have no problem.
That's why he's sitting there real quiet now.
I have no problem speaking up when it comes to saving money.
There you go. All right, Anthony, get Cheryl on that.
Well, I think the thing to do is to go to the architect, the one who wrote this letter, and see if what they did was not in accordance with the design plans. So that there should be written plans that show exactly how wide this thing is.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
There was. That's why I said I thought it was like 7 or 8 feet, and if they did 9 feet, now they did an extra foot, but yet now they want us to pay more money for it. I mean, that wasn't what the specs said. Specs said 8 feet, you did 9, so don't come telling us to come pay for it.
So I think the thing to do would be to bring that up with the architect and say exactly that and see what his response is, because he would be the one to determine whether or not the job was done in accordance with his plans.
Yeah, they would have given them specs to follow, and that's where you could make the decision from, probably.
You know, if they took a 20-foot swatch, we'd sure as heck be screaming bloody murder that we're not paying for triple the cost.
Still,
it's a matter of
$7,000 is $7,000.
You buy a lot of Xerox paper for that.
Yeah, it's in the grant. It's all part of the grant.
Yeah, but still, we could use that grant, the money for other things.
Out of the grant. Yeah, our portion of the trail is in-kind services. So we don't, if we can do the 25,000 of in-kind services, then we don't have to make a dollar amount match.
well.
Yeah, but if we could save $7,000, that could be, we could put towards signage, maybe some lighting.
I agree.
Yeah, we can't do any fixed structures down there.
Oh, that's right, we can't. I mean, that's right. Well,
No benches, no lighting, no.
but we could do signage, because we already got the poles and stuff there. We could make, it's not cheap to get some of these signs made.
Is this whole grant just us, Anthony, or is Town of Union part of it?
This part is ours. This is just ours with New York State. The town is going for their own funding for their portion of the trail.
Their portion of the trail is going down by Griffin, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're down and it's gonna end at 17C facility.
Yeah, down Griffin 17C, yep.
It would end, they were able to do the bridge. It would end at,
Glendale Park?
Yeah. You can't get over the first without doing a bridge, so. As of now, it's slated to end at, 17C.
I looked at the cost of the bridge and I thought Fort Worth Battery was going to have coronary.
What was their problem? Sending them a letter, talking to the architect?
I'll see if I can get an answer tonight.
Oh, did you already text them?
Yeah. The other thing I was going to mention too is we have to sign the re-levy taxes that we're sending to Broome County for re-levy.
Oh, okay.
So, Ted, I don't know if
Do
you're
every
around
year?
this week. I gotta have you sign a paper for our tax re-levy to the county. Leave it in your mailbox or something if you stop after hours.
Oh, is it in there now, you mean?
Most of us here.
Yeah, we could all do it now. Just I'll need Ted
Ted.
to stop in some night or something.
Yeah, you have to just explain what it is to me.
Yeah, every year, unpaid taxes, any taxes that are unpaid at the end of October, get re-levied to Broome County. And they make us whole in usually about March or April of next year. So we have to run a report, send them the report, the tax amounts, penalty amounts. We include, like public works fees, work orders, and our water, sewer, and refuse charges, so.
We want to sign that, Ted, because that means the county's paying us back all that money we would have been out.
Yeah. So that's on.
100% of taxes levied.
So we definitely want to sign that one.
That's something, now is that on the agenda too, or no?
No, it's not, part of the agenda, but I don't.
Okay.
We'll just have to, sign and send it over.
So then I had a question too. This, thing that you just sent me, the chug nut, is 8A on the agenda. But the papers I have 8A, it's a proposal from Mark Schuska for fixing the Logan Park damage. Are we doing anything with that tonight?
No,
that was last week.
I think it was last.
That was last week.
That might be the minutes. Is that the minutes you're looking at?
No, it's right in my packet. It's labeled 8A. Maybe it was a loose paper that was in my mailbox. Maybe I stuck it in the file here. Maybe that's what happened.
It was 8A of the November 2nd meeting.
Yeah, that was last meeting.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, that might be the extra there.
Here, are they the ones fixing it?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Just about done.
Yeah.
Bob, I will have a map for the historic thing by tomorrow. They're dropping it off tomorrow for me.
Excellent, thank you.
Cell phones are great. You get everything
Welcome
done
to
right now. You don't
Zoom.
have to wait.
Right.
Be a curse too, though.
Yeah, you're right there.
Yeah.
So we have 1 minute to go have a break.
Want to adjourn this and.
No, just kidding.
And then go into
Whatever you want to do.
how we did that.
Andrew, I don't want to go get water.
Yeah. we
Yeah.
can pick it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get a drink of water too.
Oh, they got a new. Are you there, Anthony?
Yeah, we're here.
I just noticed on the Zoom thing here, they said they got a new Zoom 5.0. Wonder what that does.
Oh, yeah. Probably an upgrade or update.
Yeah.
Actually, these tables are longer than that one.
Right. Yes, they are.
They're a good 2 feet, I think.
Probably better social distancing table.
That's what I'm saying. This is a better social distance table than that one, because this one is longer.
I'll have to bring in a second table. That'll work out.
Oh, that's like, we had to, we did the testing, the COVID test, because my husband was going in for surgery. So I wanted to make sure I could go. I couldn't go anyway because they closed it because we went to yellow. But we all had to take a COVID test before we could go up to upstate.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the COVID test for nothing.
No, but it's peace of mind. I had 2.
So I wasn't
That
able
patient.
to go in anyway because they were yellow. I had to drop them off. For 6 o'clock in the morning, got up at 4 o'clock and drove them up there.
And sat in the car.
Mm-hmm. Sat in the car.
I have to drop a friend off on the 24th for surgery.
Then I drove around to
Lord.
Wendy's, so, thank God that they were open so I could get back.
Mm-hmm.
Then, grab something to eat and go back and sit and wait for the phone call.
Okay, we ready to start the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. You ready?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Silence. Thank you. Okay, good things to report today. We're narrowing our choice for architect. We haven't got this, the rest of our team yet, but we're getting close for our Washington Avenue project. And the next step is to set up a public information meeting so we can get input from anyone who would like to. We'll be doing that on Zoom, so we'll be getting that done eventually here shortly. Our subted is working on another project this week, but luckily the property owner is an in-town person, so hopefully they're going to make better progress than they make when it's an out-of-town person. I had a real productive conversation with Brenda from the Empire State Development last week. Now, I'm afraid our village is still considered unfriendly to business, but I'm happy to report that now I have a better relationship with her, so we can work together. Since Brenda used to work with glass recycling, she's agreed to help us on our new glass recycling endeavor. Hopefully this will lead to more business in the future. And Cheryl will talk more about that today, because our glass guys were on Bob Joseph today, and it was a pretty good show. It was really good.
We're not sure if there are guys.
And she also has some information on the solar farm. Our neighborhood outreach committee is going strong. Now, it's run by a village resident, not the village, because we have to go through a nonprofit. They're now going through the community center for their donations and volunteers. Many of our employees want to help for Thanksgiving meals and Christmas, so anyone who wants to help can contact the community center to see what they need. They're going to take care of the neighborhood, because especially during COVID, and now this is the holiday season, there's a lot of people in need in our neighborhoods, and we want to see if we can take care of them.
And they were concentrating on the Christmas. They're doing a Christmas.
Yeah, they're concentrating on Christmas right now.
Doing Christmas baskets for families. She talked about, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Explain that. That's good.
Christmas basket for the families. They're talking about doing, like theme baskets, like might be like a movie night, and you can have like blankets, because that's what we're going to do. Is we're going to do one with blankets and little foot stockings and movies and popcorn and snacks and things like that. What is it? What did he say? Netflix. What is it? Netflix card, gift card. I didn't even know they had them.
So we're really trying to
things like that.
The community. Now, as many of you know, we replaced our drapes here in the administration building, and my secretary was looking for a purpose for the old ones. She found groups to make sleeping bags for the homeless and bags for the food pantries. And Eileen and her group we talked to her about needing hats and scarves for these bags. And Alicia and the Sleeping Bag Quilters group will be featured on Channel 12 and 34 tomorrow. I'm not sure when they're coming to do it tomorrow. She's going to where the quilters are, and it's already been featured on our website. So it's really taken off. There's been a lot of interest. Channel 34 called us. We didn't call them. They saw it on our website and called us. So that's pretty good. So the village is doing a lot of really great things here. Let's see, our village site will have a village business advertise their businesses. We want to help our local businesses during this holiday season and shop local, and I know everyone's on board for that.
Yep.
So I think Alicia made the mistake of telling me she's running out of projects, so I'll find more for her. And I think we're going to go down on the avenue and talk to them down there and see what we can do, because we really want to help our village businesses and see if there's something we can offer. Now, our Christmas tree is decorated. We have over 3,000 lights this year. We got 2,000 more than last year, than we had in the past. We're going to be lighting it on December 5th for our Lighting Up Endicott celebration, which will be live streamed. We have a special guest coming to light up the tree. It's a young man named Ray. He came to visit the village in the spring to meet the police chief, the fire chief, and me. And we were all at the police station at a meeting, and he brought his homing pigeons with him, and he let the homing pigeons loose. So to show him that he's still part of our village little family, we're going to let him do the tree. He's 10 years old.
Nice.
So he's the perfect person to light the tree. So that's what we're doing on December 5th. And I'm assuming that Eileen can talk a little bit more on the holiday parade. So that's all the stuff we're doing for the holidays right now. So now we'll go to committee reports. So would you like to start off, Eileen?
Sure, the holiday parade, will be virtual. We are going to be, the fire department and the police department, there will be some displays around the Veterans Memorial Park where the tree is going to be lit. I think it's really clever just to do it virtually and try to bring out as much happiness as we can during these difficult times. The trucks will be there in I call it the alleyway down here, the municipal alleyway. So people can come and see it, and I don't know how many people will come, but at least we're live streaming it, so people will be able to partake in the festivities, and then the fireworks following after the tree lighting.
The fireworks
at 6, which would be pretty fun. Monica wanted me to tell you that the Cornerstone Church over here on Main Street will be doing free dinners at the Endicott Visitor Center for takeout for people to know. So that's available.
Oh, for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, for Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That's really wonderful. I might even take part of that.
We were just talking about buying our turkey dinners at Phil's.
Right.
They're doing the turkey dinner, $15.95 with everything.
I can't imagine not cooking it by myself, but I did want to share that. The Cornerstone Church will be doing their annual Green Thanksgiving dinner at the Visitor Center for takeout only. Free dinner.
Terrific. Thank you. Oh, okay. Pat, do you have anything you'd like to report on?
I'd like a comment to make, which I'm not sure this is the time and place. It's about a letter you read at the end of last meeting.
Okay, that would be under comments, and it would be under committee, but you'll have a chance at the comments. Yes.
That's all I got.
Okay. All right. Let's see, Cheryl.
Just again, getting a lot of webinars in. Like the mayor said, Jacob from Claw Industries was on Bob Joseph's this morning. Also, I had a webinar today also on, it's called Reducing a Carbon Footprint, and it's low carbon concrete. And during the webinar, they were very familiar with Claw Industries. They're very excited about this industry coming here, and they said that it was from Binghamton, but it's actually they have their home base in Binghamton. Hopefully, we could have their home base here in Endicott. But they were talking about that they're very excited because of the new product also that they're going to be using is has low carbon emissions, so it's more environmental friendly. And what they want more and more industries to start using these low carbon concretes. It's an initiative that they're calling, let me tell you in a minute, let me get to my page. New York State Climate Smart Communities Program, where we start using reduced carbon products. Concrete is one of them. There's 50% emissions in concrete, and then the thermal emissions also is another 38%, and then 10% comes from the environment. When they do the concrete, because the concrete is made up of slag and ash, coal ash, and part of the problem with that is the northeast sector, they're no longer using coal. So coal ash is coming scarcer and more expensive. So by having this product by the ground glass, which is the Phantom product, not only is it going to be more cost effective because we have tons of glass. There's 150 million tons of glass that goes into our landfills that we hope to recoup at least 80% of that in a process like this here that the Claw Industries will be doing. But to put the ground glass into concrete also is gonna make it more cost effective for, concrete companies and also for, municipalities that purchase and use the glass, the concrete. And also, it's low emissions, environmental friendly, and it's also gonna make it 11% stronger. So, they were all excited about that, on that, and then, let's see, so we'll be working with that, and that's another thing that we might wanna, sign up for too, is the New York State Climate Smart Communities Program that goes hand in hand with our New York State, energy efficiency program that we just became members of. And also, I just submitted our second action item and got that it was received by them. Now they're gonna, hopefully we'll hear back in a few weeks. That was the street lights. A little known fact is that we have 867 street lights in the village, and 803 are owned by Municipal Electric. Fun fact I had to get the research and do for the streetlight project, so we can get the credit for that as our action item. Another one that seminar that I ended up taking today also was on the on solar. It's about the different permitting laws and utilities scale for solar energy. Different grants that are out there. It was they're also going to be having another one on December 9th at permitting, which is the permitting process for solar energy. We've talked about the different things that we, as a municipality, that we need to put in place, that we'll be talking with our village attorney on that as well to get that into place. We do know that Phil has been contacted by 2 companies, and he has talked with, I forget the organization now, but they pretty much said that if Diaz company's already contacting him, then we don't need to go through them, because that's basically what they would do, is put us in touch with companies that might be interested in coming here. But we're contacted by 2 that are interested. So we'll be working more on that with our committee as well. And also the New York Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act of 2019. That is one of the reasons why a lot of municipalities and upstate areas are looking into more environmental friendly, like solar and wind energy, because we do have the land up in upstate New York. So we'll be working with them. They said that upstate New York is 40% renewable energy at their goal right now, whereas downstate is only 6% renewable energy at their goal right now. And according to the New York State Climate Leadership Community Protection Act of 2019, is that we want to be at 80% to 100% of renewable energy by 2030. And upstate New York is on goal to do that, whereas downstate is not yet. So that was interesting on that, but there's a lot more to learn about that, and that's been interesting there. With the NYSERDA, the other thing that we talked about again is the community, the outreach program that we wanted to start with the community center is, if anybody would like to, I would really encourage people to sign up to try to adopt a family for the holidays. We talked about this before, even just a little bit to bring a smile, because like she was saying, is they have contact with 25 families that are using the facilities for daycare, and then they have after school programs where they have 50 families. So that's 75 families that are local, that they're working with, that really need to have a good Christmas. And so that's what they were going to start gearing that up, and they should be putting something out. And also what we want to do too is we want to start a program here in the village where we shop local, and was it shop local, eat local? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Shop local, eat local. So we want to start encouraging that also. So what we would like to to do is anybody that has any businesses that they're gonna be running some promotions and some specials. We have one that hopefully will be getting put on is Ruby and Son. This Thursday is going to be doing a virtual show for letting you know things that are on sale or coming up for Christmas gifts. So Ruby and Sons will be doing one, this Thursday. So we like to get that out there to help promote that. And also, again, any other businesses that you know of in the area, they just contact, the Alicia, the mayor's secretary. She'll get that in contact with Candace, and we can go ahead and get that put on our website and also our Facebook page so we can help promote that.
Okay. Good. That's it?
I think so.
Okay. Ted, do you have anything you'd like to report on today on your committees?
Yes, I did have just one thing, but I had a couple questions on some of the reports. Linda, you mentioned something about the businesses are going to be able to advertise on the village website.
Yeah.
Was that just for Christmas time, or all the time, or
Yeah.
how?
Right now, just for Christmas, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, now how do?
It's to promote, we're asking people to, shop and eat local, so we're trying to promote local for Christmas right now.
Okay, but my question is, how do these businesses know that this is available?
Well, my secretary is going to contact them.
Some of the local businesses, and also Candace also has some connections that she's contacted some, and, I think she put out a press release, or is putting out a press release.
She is going to. She hasn't done it yet.
Yeah.
And but this is only.
Came about as of,
Like,
Monday?
Yeah.
Monday, I brought it up Monday. Not Monday, Friday. Friday, I'm sorry. I brought it, it's something that I brought up Friday, and we started working on it.
Okay, so could we send a letter from Linda, from the mayor, to each business owner on the avenue and the side streets, and also the Union Business District, and tell them this? Because if we try to call them one at a time with Alicia, someone's going to get left out and not know about it.
Well, we could have Dave deliver them.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, well, I'll have her type up one tomorrow. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and we could have Dave deliver them.
Why wouldn't we just mail it? It'll take him 3 days to deliver it, because as he goes in each store, he's going to have to talk to people.
No,
well, you do know Dave, don't you?
Yeah, we'll tell him he can't talk. He has to just drop them off. He's done that stuff before.
We can mail it out, though.
Well, mailing is, you got the cost of 25 cents, and then who knows when it's going to
Cheryl,
get there.
this is how you do business in a municipality. You send something out by a professional, official letter. You don't walk in, because you're going to miss people if you walk in the door. Pardon me?
I said it will be official letter, Ted.
No, I'm talking about sending it through the mail.
Yeah, I wrote myself a note, so I'll have her type that up tomorrow.
Because if we are going to make this available, it should be on our website also, before someone gets upset and says they were left out, they didn't know about it. And then the second thing is kind of along the same lines, is the tree lighting and the virtual parade. How are we telling the village that that's available and what time it is and all that?
That's going to be done both on our social media and a press release. I'm letting Candace handle the advertising of that. Actually, it's also going to be on Around the Tiers. Mm-hmm. Darlene, our parade, you know Darlene from our parade committee.
Yeah.
She's in charge of the advertising. She's going to be on Around the Tiers, and I know she's on something else, but to tell you the truth, I can't remember what it is. But Darlene's in charge of the advertising for that.
And then who was, I never did hear this, who pays for the fireworks this year?
The parade committee. Darlene already paid for them. Yep.
Oh, from their money from last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, are they going to shoot them off from the same spot on Watson Boulevard, or are they coming down to BAE parking lot?
They're actually going to be at BAE this year. I'm glad you brought that up, because I'd forgotten that. Yep, BAE parking lot this year. They're hoping that more people can see them by staying home, mm-hmm. or driving around.
So right at the end of the avenue, that parking lot right at the end of the avenue?
Yes, yeah. we're trying to avoid having a lot of people out because of social distancing, so that's why we're doing that's why they want to do the virtual streaming.
Okay.
We're gonna do our best to keep the people away. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Gonna try to do a what?
We're trying to do our best to keep people from outside, you know, from social distancing. We're trying to keep them in their cars and in their homes as best we can.
Yeah, I just hope we get some good advertisement for the fireworks, because you know what happened last year. We don't have that 2 years in a row.
It got cold, and we had that that wasn't a great idea to have that after the parade type thing.
It's too late.
Yeah.
It was too late.
Parade this year. There's nothing on the avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And then one other question, this cloud industry, Cheryl, how much in grants do they need to get their business started? Did they ever tell you that at all?
I'm not privy to, and that's part of their business plan. So if you want to go ahead and call them up and talk to them, you're more than welcome.
No, I think we need to give them as much encouragement as we can if they really are able to put this company together. And if you want to tell them, if you want.
I'm in touch with Brenda. They've already met with Brenda, talked with Brenda. I gave him 5 different resources for.
Who is Brenda?
Oh, from the Empire State Development.
Yeah.
Okay.
It gives everybody the grant money from all.
Yeah, and I already gave them 5 additional grant possibilities to go after grants. So I forget what he said on. I didn't write. He was on Bob Joseph this morning, and he said that they got, I don't know, it's like $150,000 in grant money and everything already or something.
So far, yeah.
So far, but they're also going in for the NYSERDA grants also, and some of the federal grants as well.
Okay, so I'm all in favor of encouraging these guys. I hope it works. In fact, if you want to tell them, I'd be willing to help them any way I can. I've started 5 or 6 different businesses, and if they need any help that way, some suggestions or ideas, whatever, I'd be glad to put some time to help them. But we also have to be realistic, and we can't build up the hopes of the village residents on this thing. And for instance, we got a $6 million grant to do Washington Avenue in the parking lots, and then we're going to be able to spend it starting next year. Now, we all know when we got that $6 million, it was 6 years ago. So we have to be realistic, and we hope this works, but we also have to look and see how quick can you get these grants, how quick can these guys get their business going, that type of thing. So then I did have...
we have a game plan of hopefully starting in May and then be in production by the end of next year. He mentioned that on Bob Joseph this morning.
Yeah, a lot of people hope to do a lot of things, but they can't do it without money.
We just want to be as open as we can so people know what we're working on. And that way, if they have some ideas of other companies, maybe we can spur other people, even, residents, business people to come up with other ideas and suggest to us. So we're trying to just think outside the box, so we'll get everybody kind of in gear thinking outside the box.
Well, I agree. I agree with that statement. I agree with what you just said there. So on my visit,
more people listen.
Pardon me?
I said that's why we're putting it out there. Hopefully more people will listen and will come. But I think that's great that if you might be interested.
Well, I just don't want to get the whole village thinking we have a glass company coming next summer, because it's not even close to that. And we all know that. But
I think they were coming. We just said that we would like them to come, and that we can help any way we can.
So then I did have one comment on this committee that we're on to pick the architect to do the avenue and the parking lots. We are at the very end of that. We just have a couple very minor things to do, and I think maybe this week we will have chosen someone who we think would be the winner, and maybe interview them, meet with them, and talk to them about a contract. So that thing is moving along. Each week it's moving further and further and moving pretty quickly, I think.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next thing on the agenda is our Verizon presentation. So, Mr. Bates, would you take care of that since you're on board?
Hey, Greg, you there?
Anthony, yeah, can you hear me, Anthony?
Yeah, we
Okay,
can hear
great.
you.
Great, good deal. Just wanted to make sure.
I can share, if you want to go through that presentation, I can put it on the screen, and if you want to just walk me through it, I can, kind of flip the pages for you. Want to do that?
That's fine. Yeah, we can start on page 1. I wanted to thank everybody for letting me speak. Anthony and Cheryl and I have met several times over the course of the last year. I've also worked with the village attorney to come up with an MLA that will allow for the deployment of small cells in a public right of way. So what I want to do is just kind of go over with all of you folks, what small cells are, and basically what an MLA actually consists of, and what it does for the village and a wireless company, whether it's Verizon or AT&T or T-Mobile. So, and if you guys do have questions, feel free to interrupt me at any time. It makes me, I think it spurs better communications. And this document is, I think Cheryl and Anthony have seen it several times. It's a good document to breeze through, but I will say I'm not going to go through it slide by slide like a college professor. There are some good slides to look at for visual aspects. So small cells, basically, you guys have probably seen, the macro cell sites, the rooftop cell sites that most wireless providers have been using for the last 20 years. Small cells are a tool and a toolbox that we have as well. And their name is indicative of what they are. They are a lot smaller version of the cell sites that we're used to building that we call the macro sites. Those macro sites are the sites that you see on towers with 12 antennas at the top and a 30-foot by 15-foot building at the bottom. And they usually cover, a large amount of territory. Small cells are a lot smaller. We put them in areas that we call hotspots where there's a lot of usage, usually in suburban, urban, and residential type areas is where the majority of the small cells are deployed in a wireless network. And what they do is they allow for the system to perform a lot better. Imagine those macro cell sites are covering such a large distance, and there's only a finite amount of users that can use those macro sites before the system starts to get bottlenecked. So these small cells relieve that bottleneck in the capacity on the system. What I can say is, Anthony, if you go down to, I believe it's slides 8 or 9, there should be a picture. I'll let you keep going. That one right there. Perfect. What this shows is the deployments that Verizon is focusing primarily on, which is deploying this small cell technology in the public right of way using telephone poles, street poles, traffic signal poles, signboards, things of that nature. We also do them on rooftops. But in the last several years, we've moved pretty much exclusively into the public right of way. So what you'll see is that picture on the left is a typical small cell install for a 4G small cell. You can see there's a canister at the top of that pole located just above the wire. That's actually the antenna. And then it's connected via coaxial cable down to that tannish box. It's about 8 feet off the ground. And that's where all the radio equipment is in a small cell. So that small box is the same as a 30-foot by 12-foot building that we put at the base of a macro cell site. So all the equipment is shrunk considerably, and it fits into a very small enclosure. And then what we like to show is obviously the picture of the right, comparing what a small cell looks like in the public right of way compared to what you typically see on a lot of your transmission poles across, northeastern United States. The antennas are smaller than a transformer. Our equipment boxes are similar to the boxes that you see from cable and telephone companies on the pole. And it's actually the place that we found out over the last several years that a lot of municipalities want us to be anyway. I remember As an engineer, 10 years ago in my career, being at a zoning meeting, and the municipality asked us why we couldn't go, go on the telephone poles and do something like this here. And back then we didn't have the technology to do it, but we do have that technology here today. So small cells, again, they're small. They offer the same capacity as the macro cells. We build them in areas where there's a lot of usage. Usually, like I said, in your suburban or suburban, your urban areas, your downtown areas, and residential areas. One thing I can say is, the past 9 months, we've seen some significant shifts in utilization at Verizon, and I'm pretty sure our competitors have seen the same thing. With more and more people working at home, we've seen a huge uptick in usage with wireless service inside residential communities. And our engineers are focusing on those areas for small cell deployment. What I can tell you right now is, I think one of the questions that Anthony said might come up is, do we have any planned deployments right now for small cells in the village? And the answer is no. Not at this time, but I can see this coming in the not too distant future. Our engineers evaluate the usage on a network on a quarterly basis. And when they see the usage being high for several quarters in a row, then they'll start releasing these projects for us to work on. So that's a brief overview. And actually, what I will say is small cell is technology agnostic, meaning that they can be used for 4G and 5G. So Anthony, if you go to the next page, I think it's maybe page 9 and page 10, there'll be a couple different pictures that you can see here. I'll just show you guys the differences. So these are some examples of 4G small cells. You notice there's always some sort of a cylinder antenna near the top of the pole. Or in an area where NYSEG has poles, we usually do a side mount below the power space. National Grid will allow us to mount above the primaries. NYSEG will not. So when we go on a NYSEG pole, we're side mounted below. And then on the 4G ones, like I said, you have the box at the bottom. The next page, Anthony, will show some pictures of what 5G small cells look like. And they're significantly smaller than 4G small cells. So the pictures on the left and right are pictures of 5G small cells that are actually live and on the air in the city of Syracuse. And the big difference between the 4G and the 5G small cells is there's no equipment cabinet near the base of the telephone pole. Basically, it's just a power meter in a disconnect box. And then the antenna and the radios are actually combined together near the top of the pole. Or again, in a NYSEG area, we cluster them into a side mount type scenario. The pole in the middle is what we call a smart pole. Because of the amount of work that we're doing with small cells across the country, 2 years ago, Verizon went out and solicited about 8 different pole manufacturing companies to make what they call a smart pole, which can conceal, all the radio equipment that typically would be near the base into the inside of the poles. And this is just one example of a pole out in Denver, but the manufacturers can pretty much mimic any type of, street pole that you may already have in your municipality, all the way up to decorative type structures. They worked with several companies that produce lighting structures for municipalities across the country. So there's a lot of options, to put up, poles in the public right of way if we can't go on what's there. So I'll pause for a minute and let you guys ask questions, if you have any questions on small cells specifically, and then I can get into like the discussion on what the MLA is that Verizon is trying to negotiate with the Village of Endicott.
Anybody have any questions?
Anthony, can you go back to number 10 for a second.
Back? This one? Or is it the, I have this as 10.
Yeah, right there.
This one? Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the middle one looks a lot less hideous than the other two. But can you put a light fixture on the middle pole?
Anthony, for some reason, I can't see this. The only slide I'm seeing is slide 1 on my view on Zoom. So
Oh, that.
let me see if I can find the slide on my deck. You're on page 10?
Yeah, it was a 10 slide.
Yep.
Get out and go back in.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah, he
got,
was talking about your custom pole.
yeah, so those custom poles can all have lights on them. They can have signboards on them. They are designed to be able to hold multiple wireless carriers in them as well. So if there's a special lighting arm that the village has or the municipality has, any of these smart poles from the 5 approved vendors, they can put those lights on those poles. Absolutely. All the way up to even like decorative globes, things of those natures. They can put them on any of these smart poles.
We've talked about
It's,
that.
it is,
I take it that would be that wouldn't be the first option you would go to. You would probably try to install these on existing poles, right?
yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So that one in that picture is in the city of Denver, and in the city of Denver, they actually preferred the wireless provider to install brand new smart poles for every single small cell install, which to me seems kind of out of the ordinary. Where what we try to do in the Northeast is go on existing poles or go where there is already a pole there. Sometimes we do have to replace the pole that's there because, you know, structurally it may not hold the antenna at the top. Most of the power companies will basically make us go from like a class 2 to a class 3 pole just for the safety aspect. But it's literally, you take the pole that's there, you take it out of the ground, you put a new pole in, you transfer everything over, and then you go on. And again, like I said, in your area with NICEAG, the pole height generally doesn't increase, where when we're working in Syracuse, where we're with National Grid, we increase the pole height by 5 feet because they want us up above the primary line. So that's literally in Syracuse, we replace probably 90% of the poles. But again, we're going right where there's already a pole today. We try not to have to put in new poles if we don't have to.
I was gonna ask one more question. Now, this Washington Avenue, it's gonna be going, maybe, I'm not sure if we're going with decorative poles. Do they have to be a certain height? If we have like a decorative pole that's smaller, maybe similar to what we have, would that work on those poles? Because it looks like you might need a minimum height to get a proper transmission.
Yeah, our engineers have basically told us that anywhere between 25 and 45 feet will work for them. So as long as we're at least 25 feet off the ground, that'll work. So if you guys have, a decorative pole, for some reason, in most of the cities and municipalities that I've worked with that have adopted design guidelines, the decorative poles are always the lowest preference. So we try to avoid those. And how we do that is, we'll go to an intersection and maybe go one pole in. Instead of having to go on a decorative pole. But if we did have to go on a decorative pole, we definitely do have the options. But yeah, 25 feet is generally the lower limit, and 45 feet is generally the upper limit for a small cell in a public right of way.
Thanks.
Anybody else have any other questions before we go
Ted
on?
does, but he got kicked off here and he's trying to get back on, and
Okay.
I can't find the meeting.
There you go.
There we go. Hold on one second, Greg, I'm trying to get, Ted just got, removed from the meeting.
No problem,
Thank
Anthony,
you.
take your time.
Oh. He's having trouble unmuting himself.
Star 6 or something?
Can I ask Greg another question? Is he on right now?
Yeah, Greg's on.
Hey, Greg, where, these small cells on the poles, where are they receiving the signal from? Are they receiving it from these towers on the hill, or is that where there was?
Yeah, the small cells on the pole actually they have their own radio, so they generate their own signals, and they receive signals from the users in the neighborhoods that they're installed at. So, you know, much like the macro cells, like you say, you know, on the hill, these are their own transmitting base stations that work just like those macro sites on the hill. But a lot smaller form factor.
That's why you might need a few.
Ted's phone died, he's trying to get back in.
Okay.
Okay.
Should I call him with his house phone?
Yeah. I don't know what phone he was on, but it said it,
Well, if it died, it must have been
said
his
the
cell
battery
phone.
ran out. So, see if we can get back in. Ted, you there?
Okay, I think I'm in, Anthony.
Sorry, I don't know what happened.
I don't know. With that sharing of the screen, I think it does something. Shall I ask a couple questions?
Yeah. You can.
Okay. As far these different appearances of polls, who actually gets, when the time comes to do all this, who actually chooses which poll gets used and the appearance and how well can you hide it, all that type of thing?
Yeah, good question, Ted. Thanks for that. So when we are typically going on wooden utility poles that are already there, we try to go on that exact pole. Or if we, like I was explaining before, if we have to replace the pole, we replace it with another wooden utility pole. If we do get into a situation where we need to do something in an area where we need to put in one of these smart poles, we would work with the municipality or work with you guys in the village to determine a pole style before we went ahead and applied for it. So if you guys have a certain type of pole you would like to see, we'd definitely be reaching out to you guys, working with you to come up with that standard style pole. Prime example is in the city of Syracuse. They have a lot of what we call the gooseneck lighting poles. They just literally look like a candy cane or a gooseneck, I call them. And what we're doing is we've got about 15 of those that we're going to be replacing right now with a gooseneck style that looks very, very similar to that. So we work with the municipalities to make the decision on those if we need to put in a new pole.
Okay, and then how far apart can these be, or how close do they have to be to each other?
Yep, another good question. So typically a 4G small cell, and like we talked about, anywhere from 25 feet up to 45 feet, a 4G small cell will cover roughly 1,200 feet in a given direction. So that basically means every, let's say every 2,000 to 2,500 feet, you would need a 4G small cell if there was that much demand for service. 5G small cells depends on the frequency bands that we're using. If we're using the millimeter wave frequencies like we're using in Syracuse, they call it the ultra wideband. Usually those cover about 600 feet in a given direction. So again, you say roughly every 1,000 feet, we would need, a pole for a 5G small cell if we were doing, a full build out like we're doing in Syracuse. Typically though, like I said, with 4G deployments, we're picking an area where we know there's a lot of usage and we already have macro coverage there now. So it's not a new coverage deployment. It's more of augmenting the service. But they will generally cover, like I said, 1,200 feet out away from the pole.
So you would pick an area that you have current customers and then look at that area to put the poles? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah. So in like I said, in a 4G area, we can see our network at any given hour of the day and how much utilization is being used. And our traffic engineers look at that stuff, every day of the week. And they can identify down to basically small bins. A bin is an area geographically where that utilization is coming from. So that's how they target where to put these small cells. So generally, the engineer will have an area, and usually like a half a mile area. It's probably even smaller than that now. When I was an engineer, deciding where these sites went, the search area was anywhere, like a mile diameter. It's smaller now, but yeah, they focused on the areas where the utilization is.
So possibly all of our village is only maybe 2 square miles total. Mm-hmm. So do you think our whole village is using 4G where you would do the whole village?
Well, so that's what I was saying. If there's an area that we see increased usage from, we'll target that area and put in one small cell, and then we'll see how the network performs. It's not like we're going to replace everything that we have there now, macro sites, with new small cells. That's why one of the slides in this deck basically says, macro cells are never going to go away. 4G small cells.
But one pole would only give you a 1,200 foot radius, though, I guess. Is that right?
Yes, but that's, and we would put that where we know we need that service. So now visually on maps based on calling statistics where that utilization is and where we need to place the nodes.
So when we have maybe another meeting in the future here, you'll be able to show us on a map where these areas are, that type of thing.
Yeah, you can. It's not, I guess, that's usually a requirement when we're building macro networks. People want to see those types of maps and coverage maps. But when it comes down to deploying small cells in a public right of way, the FCC had a small cell order, which was put into effect in January 2019, which is intended to speed up the deployment of small cells in the public right of way. Again, you guys can request whatever information you want, but when the wireless providers give you that information, you have certain timelines that you have to, abide by to issue permits. But yeah, we could show, maps showing that there's, utilization needs if that was a requirement of the permit application.
And I'm guessing there's other choices of how the poles look and the equipment looks, but do we, the ones that you showed us pictures of, are we guaranteed that they will not be bigger or more or worse looking than what those pictures are?
So the FCC defines what small cells are, small wireless facilities, I will say. In that definition, it should be in the MLA, but basically what it says is the antennas can be no bigger than 3 cubic feet, and then the equipment on the pole, and that's not only for just one wireless provider, it's to say if 2 wireless providers want to go on the same pole, can be no bigger than 28 cubic feet. Our cabinets, I believe, are roughly 3 feet tall by probably 2.5 feet wide and about 2 feet deep, to give you, a size aspect of what they are.
And how many companies, is there a limit of how many different companies would have equipment on poles in Endicott?
No, there's definitely no limit. Like I said, we can share poles with 4G. We can share the same antennas on the side or the top of the poles. When it comes to 5G though, because that equipment and the antenna is actually molded together, it would be separate installs. But I will tell you, in my, I've been with Verizon for 21 years and I worked for AT&T for 3 years before that. Small cells have been around for the last 5 years. I have not seen a small cell in upstate New York where us and AT&T are on the same utility pole.
Okay, and then, but there could be, so then if we have 3 companies, they're all going to want different poles probably.
They could, and again, that all goes back to, the design of the macro system as well, right? So we don't have sites, we do share sites with our competitors. That was a big thing, co-location, your tower ordinances usually want you to do co-location before new poles or new towers. I'm so used to saying poles. But, the networks are definitely not the same, so the needs are not going to be the same. Also, the utilization, really is based on, your market penetration, and each company has different market penetration. So, where AT&T may need a site may not be the same places that we need to have a small cell based on our customers' locations as well.
And so this same information, the same method of your decision making would be the same for if you decide to put 5G?
So yeah, 5G is a little bit different, Ted, because, what we're doing with 5G is it's a brand new deployment because we're using different frequencies. The frequencies that we typically use with 4G, are lower band, we call them low band frequencies. They can also be used for 5G, but the 5G that we're deploying in Syracuse and will be deploying, hopefully next year in Binghamton, are on a different frequency. So it's a whole new build out. And we're using in Syracuse and in Binghamton, it will be solely using small cell technology. Some of the cities like New York City, it's more using the macro sites because they have a high density of macro sites in the city compared to putting in brand new small cells.
You had other things you were gonna tell us, I think, weren't you, or were you?
Yeah, I was gonna go over with you guys, what an MLA is. It's, the agreement that that Anthony and I have worked on, and your village attorney. We've negotiated an agreement which goes over, all of the conditions and the prices for applications and the recurring fees and things like that. So that was gonna be my next portion of the discussion.
Greg, before you go.
And on this agreement, are you talking about 4G and 5G all at the same time?
I think you could look at it through, Bob.
Yeah, so the agreement is a small wireless facility agreement. So that covers 4G, 5G, 6G, 7G when it comes down the road. The technologies, Anthony, actually, there's a slide that covers this. I think it's maybe slide 4 or 5. I don't, and if you guys don't have it, it's not a big deal, but it basically just talks about the generations of technology. So it's a technology agnostic agreement. So it covers multiple technology types, but it's geared towards specifically small wireless facilities in the public right of way. So it's a very specialized agreement for a very special type of deployment.
Hold on, I think Bob, our attorney, wanted to say something.
Thanks, Cheryl. I just wanted to respond. One of the questions that Ted asked was how many facilities could be placed on one pole. And Greg, I think you responded that there's not a limit, but we do have design standards, local Village of Endicott design standards. I'm not sure if I sent those to you or not. But we do have a restriction of no more than 2 facilities per a utility pole.
Yep. Yeah. And I knew that, Bob. I was just kind of, technically in a general answer, you could put, 3 or 4 if you wanted to. But yes, in your design guidelines, you guys can put a limit on how many small cells can be on one individual pole.
Thank God we're protected there.
Mm-hmm.
Without these poles, how do we get 4G now?
So through the macro system, and then also, like I was saying before, there may be small cells. There is small cells in the area that are located on rooftops. The public right of way, though, is a much better place for the small cells because they're closer to the customers. When you talk about getting into residential areas, it's very hard to find a rooftop suitable to put a small cell on. So, right now it's basically coverage from the macro network, coverage and capacity from the macro network, and then some limited small cells that are on like commercial buildings, things of that nature.
And you're talking small cell, but is there such a thing as large cell?
Large cells or macro cells. That's what I call a macro cell. Those are the towers that, there's towers that have an equipment shelter underneath them with 12 antennas on the top of them. That's what those are the sites that we built from 1985, and we're still building them today. But we're building fewer and fewer of those and more small cells.
I think I've asked all my questions.
Thank you, Greg.
Greg, were you going to talk about the MLA?
Yeah, sure. I can definitely talk about that. That's what I want to talk about next. So if there's no more questions on small cell technology, I can get into the MLA, and I'll try to cover it quickly because I know you guys are, probably have a limited amount of time. So we've negotiated with the attorney an MLA. An MLA is basically a master license agreement. And what that does is in that agreement, it's approximately 10 pages long. It spells out the rights that the village has. It spells out the rights that Verizon has to deploy small cells in the public right of way. And like I said, in 2019, January of 2019, the FCC put out a small cell order, which is now a federal law. It was actually went to court. There were several cities that sued the FCC, stating that their order went above the bounds that it should go against. It was heard in the Ninth Circuit Court, and it was actually just, I think, a month and a half ago. It was determined that the FCC was within its bounds to create this order and set the fee structure, the shot clocks, and all those things related to small cells in the public right of way. So basically, a wireless provider could come into any municipality and give you guys an application or request a permit, put in an application for a small cell in the public right of way. And because of this FCC order, you basically have 60 days to approve it or deny it. and there's a very limited amount of things that you can deny it for. Verizon's not, I've told this story a couple times, back in the day, you wouldn't hear from a wireless provider until they were ready to go to zoning to build a site, because it was always like a lot of anxiety, and Verizon's kind of gone outside of that for the last 2.5 years that I've been on this team. And we're working with municipalities to put these agreements in place. So when we do want to deploy, it's not a big surprise, and we get everything out in the open, and we agree on the terms, we agree on the fees, and we agree on a process on how to get these sites through in the time frame that the FCC has allotted for the municipalities to make those decisions. So in that MLA, all the language is in there about the timelines, which the FCC has called out in their order. The recurring fees, the fees that the village can charge a wireless provider for using your right of way, those fees are in the MLA. The fees that you can charge a wireless provider for applications for the permits to let us work in a public right of way, those are in that MLA. There's things in there about interference rights for the village and the wireless providers. There's things in there about, if there was a need for us to move because the village was going to widen a road, how much notifications there needs to be, things like that. So the agreement is really, it's a good thing to have for a municipality and for a wireless provider. It covers all of the fees, the rights, and how the whole deployment program would work throughout the term of that agreement. One thing a lot of people have asked, a lot of municipalities have asked me over the last 2 years I've been working on these things is, is this agreement just for Verizon Wireless? And the answer is yes, it's just for Verizon Wireless, but then you have a template. So if AT&T came in 6 months down the road and said they wanted to put in a small cell and they needed to work on an agreement with you, you could say, well, here's, Verizon already did one. Here's the template. Change the name from Verizon to AT&T, and we're in business. So there, just because I'm the guy with Verizon that's here now, doesn't mean that, our agreement is exclusive, because it can be used to help you guys through using with other wireless providers. There's nothing in our agreement that excludes any other wireless provider from deploying in the village that we can't do. And it gives you a roadmap to be able to help you when you have the next guy come in the door asking to do these type of deployments. I really think that kind of covers the gist of the MLA. And Bob, if I missed anything, I know we work together on it. You can more than welcome to add to my comments.
Well, it might be helpful if you just walk through the process from beginning to end. So say you want to put 2 facilities on Washington Ave.
Yep.
One on a village-owned pole and one on a NYSEG-owned pole. What does that look like? What application you submit? What fee do you pay?
Yep.
And what's the approval process for that?
Okay, perfect. So in both, another thing that I neglected to tell you guys, or I forgot to tell you guys, is Verizon does have an agreement with NYSEG to put small cells on any of their poles in upstate New York and in their areas that they service. So we have an application process that we go through them. So if we were coming to you guys to go number one on a NYSEG pole, that's an existing pole. We've already applied to NYSEG. They've already given us permission. So what we envision, based on this MLA, is we're going to fill out a permit application with the village. In the MLA, we have provided you guys with a template permit form and a template of required materials that by no means locks you guys into using that. If you want to create your own permit template and add to the list of materials, you can. So Verizon would basically come in, we would have that permit template filled out. We would give you guys a list of items that are in that required information to submit, one of them being, like a set of construction drawings. It's going to include the street address, the pole number. It's going to show a drawing that'll have the height of the pole as it is today and what it's going to look like, you know, with the install on it, all done in engineering drawings. We'll give you guys that application. And then if it's just one small cell, we will give you guys in one small cell on an existing pole. We will give you guys a check for $500 for that application. And then you guys have 60 days to approve it. You have 10 days to notify us if we have an incomplete application. And then if you don't notify us within 10 days, then, you know, at the 60-day clock is when you guys have to either issue us a permit or issue us a denial. If you issue us a denial, then we have a certain amount of time to correct anything that that you guys identified why you denied it. And then once we go into construction, based on the MLA that we negotiated, there's a yearly recurring fee that you guys get for allowing us to be in your right of way. Now, using an Endicott lighting pole, and I think the fee, if I remember correctly, for if we go on an ISEG pole is $135 a year recurring fee. But if we go on a light pole that the Village of Endicott owns, then it goes up to the FCC Safe Harbor Max, which is $270, I believe. Now, if we go on a light pole that you guys own, it's pretty much the same exact process. But before we apply to you guys, we're already going to have had our Site Act folks meet with you to decide what we want that pole to look like. If we're going to be going on one of your decorative street lights or whether it's a gooseneck light, we're already going to have had that discussion and gotten that sorted out before we apply for that permit. But then, you know, again, the permit fee is going to be the same. The approval process time period will be the same. But the recurring fee will be higher because it's a pole that you guys do and actually own.
Right, and then if the application is to construct a pole rather than just simply place a facility on an existing pole, then there's a higher application fee, $1,000 application fee, as well as the $135 recurring fee.
Correct. Yep, absolutely. So yeah, if we were to put in a pole like the one that Anthony showed, that smart pole where it's a green, you know, one of those green smart poles, if we were to put in one of those poles where there's not a pole now, then yeah, that application fee goes to $1,000. That application fee can be kind of confusing, and I even had a hard time understanding it at first. So the way the FCC order states it is you pay $500 up to a cluster of 5. So if I come in and apply for 1 permit, it's $500. If I come in and apply for 4 permits, you get 1 check for $500. If I apply for 10, then you get $500 and then $100 for each one after. So, you know, again, when we're doing 4G small cells, in the end, the village is going to make out because we're usually not going to be coming in and putting in more than 5 4G small cells at a time. And then, you know, I've seen like in the city of Syracuse where we do batch permits for the 5G small cells, we might apply for 15 at a time. So in the end, it comes out to being, you know, $1,500 is what they get because it rounds out to $100 per pole.
Yeah, I had to read that 3 or 4 times before I fully got that as well. And the new pole fee of $1,000, do you read that to include the cost of the facilities as well, or do you read that to be a $1,000 fee for the pole and then an additional $500 for up to 5 facilities?
So it's per pole. It is per pole. So if we were going to put in, say we put in a bulk application and it was 6 brand new poles, you guys would get a check for $6,000.
Right, but then you want to put a facility on the pole.
That
pay another $500?
No, that includes the actual facility as well. So it's for the whole, it's for the pole and the small cell itself.
Okay.
I had a couple more questions too, but Anthony, I think I got 2 texts. I think there's some people in the waiting room trying to get on to hear what's going on. You can check that out maybe.
Yeah, no one in the waiting room right now.
Oh, okay.
I know a couple of people trying to get on. I think they're in. So.
Yeah, the other question I had was, Endicott's a pretty unique village. We have 2 business districts. One is Washington Avenue, one is the Main Street and Endicott district. Both of those districts have their telephone poles behind, not on the street, in the alley or behind the stores. If Verizon is not able to put this equipment on those telephone poles that are behind the stores, are we assured that they won't come out on the street and put one there? And then the other thing that goes with that is we're on the very verge of spending $6 million next year to redo Washington Avenue. So we have to make sure this coincides and fits with all of that money that we're going to spend.
Right. So the question about, is there a reassurance that we won't be on Washington? There is no reassurance about that. Yes, we're going to try to use the existing poles, and I don't see why we couldn't, but I'm not an RF engineer anymore, so I can't say with 100% certainty. Also, in the FCC order, they do state that a municipality cannot flat out deny a wireless provider to put in a pole if they can justify the need for the location. So that's one part of it. But again, Verizon's going to work with you guys as much as we possibly can. We don't want, like I said, we don't want to put up poles if we don't have to. We really try to use what's there now. Again, I think, in upstate New York, there's maybe only a handful where we didn't put them in. It was a third party system that we went on. That put in new poles. So we are, pretty much strictly on existing locations. And then, I'm sorry, what was the second question?
Just that the $6 million we're spending on the avenue, we might want to work closer with you than other towns, just because this would be happening at a similar time as what you want to do.
Yeah, so that's a great point. And this came up when I was speaking with the mayor of Cortland about a year ago. He had the same exact thing. I can't remember the name of the street, but they had, I think it was a $3 or $4 million grant to redo basically their Main Street corridor, right? And what he was looking for is they were going to basically go all underground for their power in the area. And he was wondering, how will that affect you guys if you need to be on Main Street? And what I basically told him a contact on the Verizon landline side, because that's the folks that you want to work with to make sure that they have the conduits underground already for the fiber. Because on our small cells, on all these small cells, whether it's a 4G small cell, a 5G small cell, 6, 7G in the future, we're going to need a fiber connection to each of those small cells. So work with those, the Verizon, the telephone providers when you're doing these street projects, and make sure they have a conduit and it has ample size for future needs, is what I can recommend to you guys as a municipality. I actually hooked the mayor of Cortland up with somebody in the Verizon landline side to help, spur that conversation. I think most of the times you guys are already working with those folks anyway, because they're really, pretty much the public utilities that you generally work with.
So then I have one more question, and then I'm done with the questions for tonight. Whatever Verizon puts in Endicott, would they all coordinate? Would they all be the same appearance?
Yeah.
So we don't have 5 different types of things all over the place.
You got it. And that's another great question. And I definitely appreciate that, because I'm one that likes unity, simplicity, and not having 15 different designs when I'm working on stuff. And, you look at those 2 poles on that one slide, I think it was slide 10 that Anthony showed, those wooden utility poles, we design them exactly the same. And again, like I was saying with the city of Syracuse, on some of these gooseneck or candy cane poles that we're going to replace, we're going to use the same manufacturer. They're going to be the same height. They're going to be the same look. The only thing that may be different is on one street, all those lighting poles are painted green, and on another street that may be a mile away, they're silver. Obviously, we'll maintain the color format, but yes, we strive for everything to be as similar as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody have any other questions?
I just got one quick question, Greg. As far as pushback, is there any health risks whatsoever to be concerned about, or is that a moot point?
No, Pat, that's a good question, and it comes up in every single meeting that I attend. And you know what I say all the time is, and I know it kind of sounds like a canned, big business answer, but the FCC is our governing body, and they set the RF emission standards in the United States of America for all wireless providers, whether it's an AM radio station, a TV broadcasting station, or a wireless provider like Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. And what they do is they've worked with scientists and researchers and doctors in the United States of America and across the world. And the studies of RF emissions have been going on for the past 30 years, and they will keep going on, well into the future. And they base their decisions on what these emission levels should be based on pure science. And what they came down to saying is, as long as the wireless provider's equipment conforms to the rules and regulations that the FCC puts in, there are no negative health effects from wireless transmission, including 5G as well, because I know that's a big one that people have been latching onto lately, is that 5G is worse than 4G. But the FCC has already done all the in-depth studies on that information. What we, another thing too that the FCC did was they released an order. I want to say it was in about a year ago, specifically to address some of the concerns that people were having with RF emissions. And they came out flatly and said that no, even 5G is safe. We've done the studies. The frequencies have been there for the past 40 years. They've just been reallocated to the wireless providers. In Verizon, and I'm sure my competitors as well, we all have very in-depth RF emissions standards and safety guidelines that we go by. We take it seriously, and it's something important to us, and we make sure that all of our sites comply with the FCC standards.
Thanks.
Anybody else have anything else they'd like to ask? Okay. Anything else you'd like to say, Greg, about this whole business before we end for tonight?
No, I just, again, I appreciate you guys giving me the time to talk. I know this has been kind of an ongoing thing for the last year or so. I'd like to be able to keep moving forward with this. I know I've shared the MLA that we negotiated with the town of Union, also shared with them the design guidelines, and I think you guys are probably in lockstep with the town most of the way. So, again, we're trying to work together in an area for that commonality, type of thing. So, anything we can do to keep this, moving forward. Like I said, right now we don't have any sites planned, but that could change. And I think it would be great for us to be able to get this MLA put in place. So when we're ready to deploy, we've already got the ground engagement rules all set, and we'll be able to move forward together.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
He has more facial hair than he did before.
Now, you guys we tabled this before for tonight. do you want to vote on this tonight, or do you want to wait? I don't know if we gave a time for tabling or not. I don't remember. I'm asking what people would like to do.
Remember what he said, when you table it to the next board meeting.
Okay,
This will be the next board.
Should we, I'm just asking, should we vote on this tonight? I'm just asking, I don't know. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's up to the board. If you guys feel comfortable voting on it tonight, you can. If you want to put it on the next agenda, you can do that.
I'd like to wait a couple of weeks. I want to learn and understand the whole signal process and everything. I don't see anything wrong with it. I'd be more comfortable in a couple of weeks.
Okay, why don't we hold this over till the next meeting, Mr. Bates, and put it on for old business?
So the MLA will be on the agenda for the next meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we will vote on it in December. And that's December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day,
I was gonna say
if I'm
that.
not mistaken.
Yep.
Okay, very good. All right, next is, we're calling for a public hearing for two different things. The first one is for the Historic Preservation, Committee to be put back on its own committee rather than the planning board, and we would like this public hearing for December 7th. Do I have a motion to do that?
I'll make a motion to call for a public hearing, the request for the Historic Preservation Committee with the changes that we made onto the,
Yes.
the
Local law.
The local law.
It'll be a public hearing on the local law for the amendments to the historic preservation law.
I'll second that.
Seconded. Mr. Bates, when you get a chance, would you?
Do a roll call?
Yes, please.
Trustee Connectney?
Yes.
Trustee Dorner?
Yes.
Trustee Chapman?
yes.
Trustee Warner?
Yes.
All right. Now, the second one is calling for a public hearing, also on 12/7, and this is for changing the parking on North Nanaco, just a block away from Ted's house. There's three parking spaces there that have been quite a hindrance to both the police, street department, and accidents. How many accidents?
44 in 3 years.
44. So I would like to ask to have a public hearing on the 7th to prohibit parking on North Nanaco spaces. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
I did have a question, Linda.
Sure.
This paper we have here says repealing of the 1 hour time limit parking on North. Are we repealing the parking completely or just repealing the 1 hour parking?
I think it's repealing the parking altogether. I think that was the question that Lieutenant Smales had too. He was questioning the wording.
I'm not.
Yeah, so maybe we should change that so it's more clear.
Repealing the 1 hour parking, so that means we're repealing the 1 hour parking, so there'll be no parking?
Yeah, I think we should put some wording in there to make it clear like that.
So how does that work, Bob?
Two sections there, one in.
Section 2.
Right, it's two sections, exactly. So right now, there's 1 hour parking, at that location. So we're gonna repeal the 1 hour parking, and then section 2 imposes, or prohibits parking.
Oh, we prohibit it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, so that covers it.
Yep.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Would you please
I
take
need a second.
Oh, I'll second.
Sorry.
The roll call, we'll do
Yes.
roll call on that public hearing. Trustee Connectney?
Yes.
Trustee Dorner?
Yes.
Trustee Chapman?
Yes.
Trustee Warner?
Yes.
That'll be also on December 7th.
Yes.
Correct.
It's gonna be a busy day.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now we have approval of the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from 11/2/2020.
I'll second that.
Trustee Connectney?
Yes.
Trustee Dorner?
Yes.
Trustee Chapman?
Yep.
Trustee Warner?
Yes.
Now we have a bid from Kevin Hero to receive bids for the inside coating of the water tank located at 701 Pine Street.
I make a motion to approve the request for Kevin to receive bids for the inside coating of the water tank on Pine Street.
Second.
How much is it that we're voting on here?
Well, we're voting to get To get
To get bids.
We don't know what they are.
Oh, to
yet.
get bids, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, get bids.
It'll also actually be for next budget year. So
Next
they-
budget year, okay.
Cool.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll do a roll call.
Yes.
Next. Trustee Dorner,
Yes.
trustee Chapman,
Yes.
trustee Warner.
Yes,
Okay. Now we come communications for filing, A to Z. Unless there's questions.
If anybody has any questions on the one that's petition for filing for the Fillmore for requesting child at play, we went ahead and we reviewed that, and these are tenants, they're not, there's only 2 homeowners, the rest are tenants, so they didn't qualify.
So but this is just for filing, we're not.
But we did
Okay.
contact them.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're putting it in for filing. We did contact them and let them know that they would need to have the petition of the homeowner, 75% of the homeowners.
That's too bad, but I get it. I'll make a motion to accept the petitions, communications for filing A to D.
Second.
Roll call. Trustee Chapman,
Yes.
trustee Dorner,
Yes.
trustee Chapman,
Yes.
trustee Warner.
yes,
All right, next communication for action, Chestnut Trail at Mercer Oak Park.
I got an update.
All right.
So, talked to, Bex Cameron, the village engineer. He said, in order to safely complete the second pass of the milling of the trail, the milling machine had to go wider. They need to change order to accommodate the extra width that was needed to safely complete the process. The architect said it would make the trail more accessible, and also the extra width will make snow removal easier. The cost to mill was 1/3 the cost it would have been to excavate with an excavator. And then I talked to architect on it. Said the excavator was as accurate as feasible using the large milling machine. Getting an exact quantity needed is a challenging task on that. So, like I said, it's a little bit wider and than was initially estimated.
So they're keeping the width.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're saying, is they're keeping that wider width?
Accommodate the extra width that was needed to safely complete the process. The architect said it would make paving the trail more accessible, and also the extra width will make snow removal easier. Yeah, that was the explanation.
But that's what it sounds like. It sounds like they're keeping the extra width.
I don't think they can put it back.
All right.
No, I mean, I
That'd be a
didn't know
test.
if they were like landfilling,
Yeah.
filling it in. Okay.
Actually, we did save all that, soil.
Design services.
Yeah, so we'll repurpose that somewhere else.
Okay.
You say that so we can use it for backfill somewhere else?
Mm-hmm.
May I make
Okay.
So is that a motion to approve that request for a change order?
Yes.
For the Chestnut Trail project?
Where is it? All right, I'll make a motion to accept the change order for the Chestnut Trail.
I'll second that.
Trustee Connect,
Yes.
No.
trustee Chapman,
Yes.
trustee Warner.
Why are you voting no, Pat?
I'm not buying their excuse.
Well, one thing is at least we can make some extra,
Costing us some money, I think, so that's why.
making us money on the,
Oh, that's because of the $7,000 Cheryl was talking about?
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So did you vote for it, Cheryl, or against it?
I voted for it only because we're gonna make money back on the backfill, but also, I mean, if they had to do it for safety and they're gonna keep.
But if we
the width
vote
and
for, if we vote for the change order, aren't we voting that we pay the $7,000?
Yes.
It's coming out of the grant. The grant funds we have available are $75,000, and through the contracts we approved so far, it was about $57,998. So we added this change order, and at $73,755, our total cost for the project right now would be with this, if you included this, would be $65,373. And like I said, we have $75,000 available through the grant. So we're just shy of $10,000 under budget.
So it adds.
So do you want to still vote
Yeah,
for it, Cheryl?
Covered by the grant.
yeah, it's still under the grant amount.
Mhm.
Yes, Ted, I voted yes.
Okay, so my vote, I think, will be no.
Do I have to
Okay,
vote?
and then Mayor Jackson.
Let me get this straight now. We did it for safety reasons and we get money on the backfill, so we made money on it.
Well, we
Made
use
some.
the backfill, so
We
we
use
don't
the
have to buy it.
We don't have to buy it.
Right, that's our in-kind
So
services.
it's really not gonna cost us 7,000 out of that grant because we're making it up. All right, then I'll vote yes.
I don't think we're gonna make up 100% of
I
it.
might
We
as
don't
well
have a
make
good
sure that
portion
we
of it.
make it up. Okay, next we pay the bills.
Oh, I would like to make a motion to pay the bills, please.
Second.
Roll call. Trustee Connectney?
Yes.
Trustee Dorner?
Yes.
Trustee Chapman?
Yes.
And Trustee Warner?
Yes.
All right, now we come to the hearing visitors, so if you don't mind, please, take over.
We have two people on the list.
Yeah.
First I have, Paul Connor. Let's see if he's on. Paul on tonight?
It should be.
Let's see.
No, no.
Well, maybe if it pops on, we'll come back. So go to, Ellen Taberry.
I have Rob DeBerry too.
Oh, okay, I'll get.
I'm
I'll
sorry,
go.
well, it doesn't matter which
Yeah.
person, I mean, as long as you get a vote.
Okay.
Hi, Anthony.
Hi, Ellen.
So my question is, and I know you're not going to answer, but I'm just curious what the latest is on the Sun Jill project because the law that was just passed 5 weeks ago. So I'm just wondering if we know what the latest is, where we're at with them moving in, and I would expect the board to be in the loop as you're the entity who passed the law to have them come in and start operations. And Rob wanted to ask about, he couldn't make it tonight. On your website, there is a page that lists all of the committees that people can become involved in. So his question, and again, I know you're not going to answer it, is he just wants to know if all the committees are up on that website and what you would actually do to go about volunteering for something. And that's all I have. Thanks, Anthony.
Okay, thank you. Said Rob's not on tonight, so.
No,
He's on the list.
he has to, yeah, he has to work, and I said I'd ask his question for him.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe.
Want me to
I
ask
don't
you?
see him.
Yeah.
Do you see him?
Just see Ellen.
Yeah.
We probably should ask her if she would like to speak on them, because maybe they're both on the same phone.
Ellen, Connor, I'm gonna unmute if you want, or, I don't see Paul on there, so,
She said no.
no,
No? Okay,
he's not on? Okay,
okay.
okay.
Okay, then you
Um,
close out.
And next I have, Bill Houston, I think I saw,
Oh, he's got the phone number. Did I give it to you?
He's right there. BH.
Oh, okay.
I think that's usually him. There. Bill, is that you?
I wrote down his phone number, so we have it. Oh, on his email paper, the very last one is his phone number, so,
Oh, okay.
so that you have it, so you could tell which one was him. It's at the top.
Where? Oh, not too. Oh, here we go. Try this. Oh, I'm trying to unmute your phone.
So we have to unmute.
Bill, yeah, Bill, are you able to unmute? I know I unmuted like your screen here, but you also have a phone number here. I'm trying to unmute that now.
The BH is probably.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now. You're right.
Okay. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I have to turn my audio down because I have a complicated setup here. I wanted to comment on 5G, and I'm glad I didn't hear one of the trustees ask about human health impacts, so I'm very happy to hear somebody ask about that. I think one must be living in a cave if you haven't heard of any of the concerns that people have all over the world about the human health and privacy impacts of 5G. The FCC basically has taken a pass. They are not regulating 5G in any way in terms of power density, in terms of anything. Apart from imposing restrictions like the gentleman from Verizon said about, our rights of remedy and the things that we can actually object on. Hold on, I have to start I've done some FOIL requests. I've talked to the DEC. The DEC basically does not regulate 5G. Neither does the Public Service Commission. I asked the New York State Department of Health for any information they have on the health and safety impacts of 5G, and they responded that no records meet my request. So the New York State Department of Health, all of the state agencies are taking a pass. The federal agencies are taking a pass. The only level of government that has the ability to regulate this is the local government. And what I'm very concerned about is when I read a draft of this master license agreement is basically it gets the village of Endicott to waive our rights. And I can read it to you, but basically it's in section 4, the poll license, section 4, paragraph B, and it says the village may only reject a poll application only for one of the following reasons, which must be specified with reasonable details: concerns about the structural capacity, engineering practices, the application is incomplete, height restrictions, that kind of thing. There's aesthetic reasons. But there's nothing in there about rejecting it because we don't trust the safety or we have privacy concerns. So if the courts have decided that those are legitimate reasons the only legitimate reasons to reject an application, my question is, why do we have to agree to that in the contract? That is extremely concerning to me about this master license agreement. So, and another example is that there is no limit to growth. As the gentleman from Verizon said, that this master license agreement is only going to apply to Verizon. We are going to have other carriers that are coming in here, so we're going to have a lot of redundant infrastructure. This is a brand new technology. I'm an engineer, and I was a ham radio operator back in high school. I have a little bit of knowledge of radio frequency and propagation and things like that. In terms of the power density, this is way higher than anything that's ever been experienced before. In terms of the frequencies, this is your microwave oven is probably about 2 gigahertz. This goes up to 30, 40, 50 gigahertz. There's questions about whether this is actually non-ionizing radiation or not, which means 5G might be a carcinogen, a human carcinogen. I have a group called Stop 5G Broom on Facebook. I encourage anybody that's concerned that you join up with this group. I've interviewed on the Bill Huston podcast one of the statewide experts that's been fighting this, Gusty Bogok, and I've been on the phone over the past month. I've talked to a dozen different experts on this. I'm still learning about this issue myself. I am no expert, but I have learned enough to have very serious concerns about the health and safety impacts and also the privacy impacts and the unconstrained rollout of this, and the fact that there's no federal or state agency that's basically doing any regulation of this. So I would ask you to, beyond just tabling this to the next discussion, to the next meeting, we need to have a public hearing on this, and we need to open up the public hearing to beyond just people that live in Endicott, because we don't have the expertise here, to really be able to make quality comments on this. And I can find you experts, I can bring in experts that can speak on this knowledgeably. So please, do not vote on this or reject it, if you can, until we can have a public hearing and a community-wide discussion about what this is and what are the possible impacts. There's going to be impacts to property values. They're going to be putting these antennas, just a few feet from people's bedroom windows, 20 feet from people's bedroom windows, and shooting the radiation directly into their houses. So I'm very, very concerned about the master license agreement, the fact that it violates our rights, these human health and privacy impacts that are not being regulated by the FCC or any New York State agency. All the agencies are taking a pass. So I ask you that please either reject this master license agreement outright, or at least defer it until we can have a community-wide discussion on this. That's about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, and that closes our hearing of visitors. Now we have our local laws. Now the first one is on a steering committee. Now, Anthony, we didn't appoint anybody on this. Should we be doing this for Toma to authorize Toma to do that, or should we be filling this in with 7 people we want on the steering committee?
Yeah, so we don't have to approve this tonight, but I wanted to bring it up. So this will be for the New York State Main Street grant, which I was going to mention. The applications are due November 25th, so we've got a little over a week left. I know Toma, the consultant we hired, has been working diligently on this. Checked in with them a few times, and they have made contact with a lot of individuals that are interested, and they're working through it with them. So. Looks like it's going to be a successful project here. So what we have to do is we have to appoint a steering committee. So what's going to happen, how this grant works is, Thoma's going to get all the applications in, work with all the property owners. Once the applications are in, it's going to come to the steering committee. So the steering committee will be a Village of Endicott committee in conjunction with Toma to work through all these projects and see how we're going to allocate the funds. If there's more requests that come in than money that's available, we're going to have to make a determination on, what projects would be our best, would rate higher than others, what type of work's being done, how much money are they putting up, how much money is coming from the grant. So we get to kind of rank them and see which ones will get the funding. You
already have a tentative schedule. I've already seen it, haven't I?
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So I think what we'll do, I want to bring this up tonight. And then, we'll come up with the names and put it up for vote at the resolution section of the December 7th, I believe. Okay. December 7th meeting. So just want to give you an update of how that grant's progressing. Like I said, you got the deadline coming up for the applications. We'll get this in place, then we can review all the applications and make selections of
I'm going to distribute the funding. You tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll get it. Okay.
Yep.
I forgot you and I already talked about that. Okay, next is adoption of the records and disposition schedule. I really do need you to explain this.
Yeah, so this
we've done this.
I actually got from county here. The county passed one. This is a state requirement. We have a policy in place for record retention. and we basically, kind of just piggyback off, county here. See, there's some, spellings in here as well. So this is to update the Village of Endicott Records retention program and to follow with all the updated New York State guidelines. I believe I sent out a few weeks ago now, an email with the LGS 1 requirements which are on there, so that's local government standard for records retention.
Is this how long we have to hold them for?
Yeah, it's what types of records you have to keep, how long you have to hold them, updates, all the time frames, you know, all that information. It's all on the state website as well. Okay. What your requirements are for a record.
So this is required, all municipalities, like Anthony said, have to adopt this, but this resolution looks like the resolution that Broome County approved, but the village needs to approve its own resolution.
Oh,
okay. So yes. I would just amend this in the title section. Instead of it saying the schedule of Broome County, it should be the schedule of the Village of Endicott. And in the first paragraph, it says, it should say, whereas the Village of Endicott manager, village manager rather, in the capacity of records management officer for the village. And then at the end of that. Resolved. Well, at the end of that first paragraph, the official record retention schedule of the Village of Endicott, that should say. Looks like the 1, 2, 3, 4th whereas clause should say the Records Management Office will work with all departments that utilize the, should be the village. Well, we don't have a storage center, right?
Store our records here.
Okay. Yeah, we do.
So that could say the Records Management Office will work with all departments. And then it can just go right to update the record disposition dates of all stored records now, right?
Okay.
And then the first resolved should say resolved that the village board hereby authorizes the schedule.
Well, why don't you rewrite this with the village and then we could pass it next meeting?
Yeah, that would be the better way.
Yeah, I didn't write this.
That's a good idea.
I was going to have another suggestion too, is that all I have is the resolution, so I don't have the document that tells what it is we're approving, that we're agreeing with.
Well,
whatever Broome County voted on, I guess we're approving what they approved, but I don't have a copy of that.
So it's not really what Broome County approved. It's what the state requires. The state has this new records retention schedule called LGS 1, and all municipalities are required to adopt it. I can send you the link to LGS 1, but you don't want to print it out because it's hundreds of pages long.
Yeah, it's quite a.
Okay.
So I'll send a link to that schedule, and I'll also draft up a resolution that we could have ready for December.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
That would be great. Okay. Very good. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. I'm holding it over, so I'm putting it with all my papers today. Papers for next month are almost as much as the ones we did for this month. Okay. Okay, moving on. We have no unfinished business, and we aren't going to do the new business. We're going to hold off on that tonight. We're not quite ready, I guess. So do we want to go into an executive session now, Bob?
Well, I mean, that would be a vote of the board if the board wants to. It's my recommendation that the board do conduct an executive session to discuss pending litigation against the village.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we do executive session.
I have a contract negotiation item I wanted to bring up too.
Collective bargaining?
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion would be for two things. One, to discuss pending litigation, and the second for collective negotiations.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to do executive session for those two reasons.
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to pause the meeting.
Okay.
And
I just wanted to ask a question for the people that are here. Do you know about how long it's going to take us, Bob, in there?
Who knows?
No. Sorry.
We got 2 items, so it's gonna be half hour, maybe.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, it's how many questions people have.
Yeah, it's really hard to predict.
How many questions
All right.
Ted
You
had?
said it, Pat.
No, I didn't say anything.
You hit it right on the head, Pat.
Ted, I'm pausing the meeting and we'll give you a call on the phone here.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Sure needs some WD-40.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you in just a second.
Thank God. Turn that off.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Let's see.
Leave page. Okay. Hi, friends. Tech check. Can everybody hear me? I'd love to see somebody in the comments to let me know if you can hear my voice right now. It looks like that I'm going out. Thank you, History Hunting with Tom, for the comments about my comment, and I appreciate all the people that are sending me communications, like Colleen Becker on Facebook. This 5G is a big deal. Okay. So I pretty much said my piece, but what I want to encourage you to do is go to the Bill Huston podcast on Facebook. And the first thing I want you to do is subscribe. And that way you will get notifications whenever I go live or publish a new video. And I do have some new videos coming up. I work in the public interest. I survive on donations and grants. I've been hit severely because of COVID. My bills are way behind. I have stuff in storage that I'm about to lose. My phone's been turned off for a month. I'm basically working on an internet-based phone right now. If you appreciate my work, I appreciate donations in any amount. You can, the link is, let me put the link on the screen really quick. Got to do it this way. And so there's the link, tinyurl.com/donate to Bill Huston, tinyurl.com/donate to Bill Huston. That's case insensitive. So you don't have to put I just put the capitalization in there to make it easy to read and to type. If you want to send me something, send me a check or a money order, or if you just want to send me a letter, you can use William Huston, P.O. Box 22, Endicott, New York 13761. My P.O. box is due too, and I don't really have any money to pay it right now. So if you appreciate my work, I have a solid history of 10 years of doing environmental work, statewide, regionally. I've gone as far as away as Virginia to speak about hydrofracking and to speak about pipelines and infrastructure, compressor stations. So I travel all over the place as a self-educated expert on these various environmental issues. I am one of the, nobody will admit this, but I'm one of the co-founders of No Burn Broom. I'm the one that invited Dr. Paul Connett into the conversation. I have been basically excommunicated from the group by this guy, Rob Tabiri. He's the guy that runs the No Burn Broom. It's called, what's it called? Just Say No to Lithium Ion Battery Recycling. It's got this big long name. But this guy is a complete jerk. And he has basically run me out of the meetings, and actually Dr. Paul Connett too. So I'm a huge fan of Paul Connett, but I don't have a voice in No Burn Broom. They won't let me speak, even at the town hall. I've been denied access to the village attorney. By the way, here's something interesting that I just saw. Let me just show you this. This is some breaking news here, friends. So let me just call this up really quick. This is exciting news that, speaking of the attorney, there was just on 11/13. Have you seen this in any newspaper article? Claudia Bramer was on the call earlier. Claudia Bramer, on behalf of Richard Wolozin. I don't know how to say that. Wolozin. Richard Wolozin, Amanda Smith. I know Amanda. Rita Foran, Tina Majewicz, Tina Majewski, Carlo Sinovi, and American Horizons Group LLC. Well, I got to figure out who they are. Is that Verizon? Is that Verizon's the credit union? I don't know. But they filed an Article 78 civil practice rules. Article 78 is basically kind of a generic lawsuit that you file for any. Oh boy, that's a horrible composition. Let me try to clean this up a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. Just give me 1 second. Let me frame it up a little bit. Basically, an Article 78 is a generic kind of a lawsuit that that you file to challenge any action of a government official that is erroneous in some way. This is a verified petition. It means it was sworn. Preliminary statement. This is an Article 78 proceeding seeking to annul, vacate, and set aside the decisions by respondent Board of Trustees of Village of Endicott to issue a negative declaration pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and to amend the village zoning code to expand the uses allowed in Endicott's industrial zoning district to permit waste recycling facilities. This is super exciting. I mean, I saw No Burn Broom's email letter going out, newsletter, and so I just saw this and just downloaded this during the meeting. This was filed on the 13th. What date was? So that was Friday. It was just filed on Friday. So this is super hot, super new. Let's go through this a little bit because I think we have like 30 minutes before they come back. We're going to continue to monitor this meeting, and when they come back, we'll take you back to the meeting live. But for now, let's look at this. With tremendous public opposition, yay, No Burn Broom. I mean, I'm thrilled that this big group exists. I'm just a little unhappy that I don't have a voice in No Burn Broom, but that's okay. I don't work good in groups. I do my own thing, and so I work with a group called Concerned Citizens of Endicott. So I encourage you to like Concerned Citizens of Endicott on Facebook and join the discussion group, Concerned Citizens of Endicott Open Discussion, okay? We don't censor people. You can talk about any topic that you want to that's of concern to you, that impacts people in Endicott. Unlike a lot of these, I've been blocked and banned and had posts deleted. There's like, bring back our Endicott or growing up in Endicott. You can't talk about any, you can post, photographs of, what, North Street looked like or Oak Hill Avenue or whatever in 1934. You can post, anything that basically isn't controversial or isn't political or whatever. In those groups, there's a bunch of different groups that say Endicott in the name that are highly regulated by these censors and these gatekeepers. And I don't know what their objective is, but they won't let people discuss. So that's why I created Concerned Citizens of Endicott Open Discussion Group on Facebook. Please join that. And the only restrictions are no commercial spam. And don't badger or make personal attacks against people, especially the moderator. That's me, okay? If you want to be a moderator, email me or just send me a Facebook message and we can add you. So let's keep on going through this. At the meeting held online in the midst of the greatest worldwide pandemic in 100 years, the village board adopted a zoning amendment that applies. Let me read it like this because I can look straight on here. Ugh. The village board approved a zoning amendment that applies to all lands in the industrial zoning district in the village of Endicott with tremendous public opposition and a formal protest petition having been submitted to the village board. The village board adopted the zoning change with a vote of 3 in favor and 2 opposed. Let's see if she talks about the second supermajority requirement, which everybody just ignored. The purpose of the zoning amendment was to allow a specific project to be sited in the village in an area known as Huron Campus, which is classified as industrial. The specific project which there are plans to site in the Huron Campus is a proposed battery recycling facility, recycling and incineration. God bless you, Claudia, for using the I word that nobody wants to say. proposed by Sanjeev, and also who was it? I think it was John Ruspentini that says this is not even a recycling facility because nothing will actually be recycled here. The materials are not going to re-enter the manufacturing stream from here. They're going to go to Korea for additional. It's this intermediate product that they produce here called black powder or battery powder. Which then goes to Korea for further refining. So there's no benefit to Endicott whatsoever. And the calling it a recycling facility, which everybody does, including Donna Lupardo and the Empire State Development Corporation and DEC, it's a little bit disingenuous, okay? So extract the metals from the batteries by disassembling the batteries, heating the batteries in a rotary kiln furnace, shredding and grinding the batteries to a powder. The powder is then shipped to a Sunjeel facility in South Korea for further processing and separation to obtain the metals of interest. In its haste to pass the zoning amendment, a majority of the village board pressed forward with the proposal, even though the COVID-19 pandemic shut down in-person public meetings. Yup. Moreover, the village board's haste to pass the proposed zoning amendment resulted in the village board failing to satisfy mandatory procedural requirements. Finally, the village board failed to undergo the required environmental assessment that should have taken place for a proposal such as this that has the potential to result in significant adverse environmental impacts. Therefore, the amendment to the village code must be annulled because it was not adopted in accordance with the law. Moreover, the amendment must be annulled because the village board failed to comply with SECRA in its purported environmental review of the proposed zoning amendment. In summary, the village board's adoption of the zoning amendment was arbitrary and capricious, irrational, and affected by an error of law. The petitioners are therefore entitled to annulment. Parties. I'm a little bit disappointed in Claudia because she did not mention that there was another reason for the supermajority vote. And boy, I'm having trouble thinking about the site. I used to be able to rattle this off, but let me think about it. Basically, it had to do with the 239 review. It comes from GML section 239M subparagraph 5, I think. I think that's the citation. So basically, it's like this, that anytime that there's certain requirements that projects have to go to the county for what's called a 239 review. And a 239 review is supposed to be a regional review of the impacts of a project. That's why it goes to the county. It's like if the DEC did it, this would be called a coordinated review. It's pretty much the same thing. It's a county-wide review of the impacts. And just for an example, when the Fenton Bomb Trucks Terminal went for a coordinated review, or let me say it this, a 239 review, there was 6 involved agencies. When our zoning change went to the county for a 239 review, guess how many agencies there were involved? 0. There was none. They didn't involve any other. In fact, I didn't see where it even went to the county planning board. It looks like, because they didn't even have a full month, there wasn't a planning board meeting in the requirement. That's why they normally take 30 days. This thing was completely authored by Frank Evangelisti, who is retiring. I don't know if he's still in office or not, but I know he's retiring. But he did give us a gift, okay? At the top, it was like a 1-page document instead of 37 pages that came with the Fenton Bomb Trucks Terminal. We got 1 page, and in this document, he listed a paragraph of, and I've listed it before on my show. I can call it up if you want to see it, but there was like 7 or 8 bullet points, and it was good stuff. It was like, we don't really see any problems, but you might want to consider doing this, this, and this, and this. Well, if you read General Municipal Law, Section 239M, subparagraph 5, it says that basically, if the county comes back with any kind of recommendations for changes, which arguably it did, then it requires a supermajority vote. So that's why the 3-2 vote is very important that Attorney Bramer mentioned at the head of this. I'm just very disappointed that she didn't include this as a cause of action. Concerns. These are concerns of the different petitioners. Let's see. due to the proximity, and each of the petitioners will be uniquely affected by the change. As such, the zoning change will be increased traffic near their homes, noise, air emissions, reduction of property values, impairment of the character. Yep, that's all good. Moreover, by the proximity to the site of the proposed battery recycling and incineration facility, petitioners will be impacted more by the zoning amendment than the general public. That's arguable because, as my friend Craig Stevens pointed out the night that the vote happened, he listened to it and he said, you know what they're doing? They're basically doing a generic environmental impact statement on recycling facilities, which means, and there was some discussion about it over the last couple of board meetings about P versus SP. P means permitted use. SP means requires a special permit. The special permit definitely requires that it goes to the village planning board for a site plan review. Okay, what they passed, it's not an SP, it's just a P, which means if anybody wants to come in here and build an incinerator, another incinerator, high temperature with different emissions, as long as they call it a recycling facility, it's going to slide right through. So it's very seriously concerning. We don't know who this is going to impact because they might put something in down by the airport. Respondent, factual background, trichloroethylene, groundwater contamination, early plants for Sanjil, late September 2018. No application was made to the village for siting the Sanjil facility in the village. There you go. That's a good concern. In late 2018 and 19, applications were submitted to the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for the proposed facility in February 2020. The village attorney, great letter by Bob. Kudos to Bob McCurdish over this letter. This was a fabulous letter. DEC about the environmental and safety concerns relating to the facility. The attorney's letter also included a note relaying concerns about the proposed project's compliance with the village code. According to the village's attorney, there's a lack of transparency with respect to review of the project impacts, missing and inconsistent information on the EIS, defects in the seeker review. Yeah, baby. Potentially severe environmental and safety impacts. Who, by the way, I just want to point out, who's the one that raised the red flag starting in about November of 2019 about this facility? Was it No Burn Broom? No, No Burn Broom didn't exist until April of 2020, this year, okay? I was by myself, like I have done in the past with lots of different environmental issues right here in Endicott. I was all by myself. I'm trying to raise the alarm. People go, oh, that's just Bill waving his arms. He always does that. Thank God, got the attention of a couple of people. One person doesn't want to be identified, but I will identify another. Terry Farrell. God bless you, Terry Farrell. Terry called me and she says, I know a lot of people. I'm going to get people involved. And suddenly, whoosh, we had this big group and 2,000 petition signatures and things. There was another person that was critically involved, a very important person in organizing this, but they prefer to remain out of the limelight. So I'm going to respect their wishes there and not name this other person. Potentially severe environmental and safety impacts, complete lack of consideration of zoning laws. God bless you. So I feel like Bob McCurdish, I don't know whether he was aware of any of the materials that I was putting out, but he definitely covered a lot of the issues that I was bringing up. So thank you, Bob McCurdish, village attorney for the village of Endicott. And there's been a couple of other issues that have come up that Bob McCurdish has been very good on. So I'm really happy about his work. So thank you, Bob. Further, the village is concerned about the potential environmental impacts of the proposed project, including various hazardous materials which will enter the air when burned. What's this footnote? Additional information about the site. Oh, that's the IBM site cleanup. Okay. Once airborne, the materials may pose a threat to the health and safety of village residents. Yeah, baby. The recent fire at the Taylor recycling facility highlights these concerns and concerns of potential battery leaks. Despite these major concerns, the village mayor thereafter proposed an amendment to the zoning code that would facilitate the siting of the Sanjil facility and any other recycling facilities in the village's industrial district. There
is, remember what I said before about it was a generic thing, the zoning change, and any other recycling facilities. Yeah. A public hearing was held via online format, and the proposed zoning amendment May 5th. There were numerous public comments by dozens of people at the public hearing. Nearly every one of the 56 commenters were against. I would say all of them were against. One was for the facility, but even that person, Frank Roma, recommended some changes in terms of the stack height, and I think there might have been one other issue. The village board received a petition signed by over 2,000 people who were opposed to the zoning amendment. Despite all of these concerns and all of the public opposition, and without waiting for a complete package to be sent to the county as required. Damn right. That's another good point. Okay. The 239 review is supposed to get the environmental review as part of the application. They did this out of order. They were in such a rush to get it done. They did the seeker review, supposedly their half-assed seeker review. They did it after the 239 review came back. And, you know, how many years has Frank Evangelisti had this job? It's not like Frank Evangelisti doesn't understand this. He doesn't know this. There's no excuse for him to have tolerated this. It was definitely illegal, and I'm glad Attorney Bramer is actually bringing this up. The village board pushed forward with a vote on May 7th. First cause of action. The village board also failed to send the required notices to all of the local municipalities. Good. Second cause of action. Prior to the May 7th, 2020 meeting, a protest petition pursuant to New York Village law, blah, 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 was filed by landowners opposed to the facility without waiting for any analysis about whether the protest petition was sufficient to require a supermajority vote. The majority of the village board pushed forward with a vote on the proposed zoning amendment. The village board decided to hold off on filing the zoning amendment with the Department of State while an analysis of the protest petition was performed. The analysis was completed September 2020, and the local law adopting the zoning amendment was first filed September 27th. We're in a very risky situation here, friends, and what I suspect is we are going to see action on this really soon because the DEC, you know, thank God somebody convinced Donald Lupardo to ask for an environmental impact statement. And thank God that the local Sierra Club got on board too. I've been bugging them for a year. And there were some other groups that really had nothing to do with the project, but they signed on to it. That's okay. But the point is that we have Donald Lupardo, we have Fred Akshar, we have No Burn Broom, we have Concerned Citizens of Endicott, all have asked for an environmental impact statement, and the DEC has been silent. This ain't good. This is not good that the DEC has not responded to all of these requests for a full environmental impact statement. Additionally, although required to do so by its own zoning law, the village did not wait for the report from the village planning board about the proposed zoning amendment. Village did not wait for a report. I'm not sure what that is. I'm going to have to, maybe there's some additional details as exhibits. The zoning amendment also failed to comply with criteria set forth in zoning code for adopting zoning changes. So maybe this is enough. You know, there's looks like I'm still concerned about something that's missing about the additional requirement for the supermajority vote from GML section 239M5. The village board proceeded with a perfunctory and inadequate seeker review of the proposed zoning amendment without considering the impacts of the proposed Sun Jail facility that relies upon the zoning amendment in order. Good stuff. This is good. Ignoring the related long-term consequences of the zoning amendment was an abrogation of the village board's duty to review the entirety of the impacts of the action. God bless you, Claudia. Was arbitrary and capricious, and its zoning amendment must be annulled so that a proper review takes place. Great. Finally, the zoning amendment is irrational and constitutes illegal spot zoning for the benefit of a... Whoa! This is the first I've heard of this. This is case law, looks like. Additionally, the zoning amendment must be annulled as set forth below. Here's the first cause of action. Failed to comply with the New York State Municipal Law 239M. All materials. Yep, there we go, right? they didn't get it. The completed environmental assessment form completes incomplete package. The county received language in the proposed as defined Part 1 EAF other materials. The county issued its determination April 16th, even prior to the village board even completing Part 1. Excellent, excellent. This is a showstopper, friends, this point that she's bringing up here. The village board did not complete Part 1 prior to the meeting. The village board did not complete 2 and 3 regarding the significance until May 7th of the village board. Consequently, the county could not have had the completed EAF when it issued its determination back in mid-April. Moreover, the village had before it numerous maps, documents, and other correspondence that it relied in making its determination. These maps and additional documents and correspondence were not sent to the county as part of the GML 239M package. Without the completed EAF and without the other materials relied on by the village board, the county did not have a full package. Excellent, excellent. Since the county did not have a full package, zoning amendment did not comply. Additionally, the 16th full... Here it is! Here it is! She has it! This is the list of all of the things that were on that Frank Evangelisti from the county recommended. Since the county... Yes! She got it! She got it. I'm so happy. It's in there. 239M5. There it is. There was an additional supermajority vote. Additional requirement. God bless you, Claudia. The village board did not adopt any of the supplementary use requirements that were... So, this was just filed, friends, on Friday. Second cause of action, failure to comply with the... So... I have to go through this. I'm going to make this available. I'm going to put this somewhere, and I'm going to post the link to this document. It's actually on No Burn Broom. It's already there. So you can just go to noburnbroom. Is it .com or .org? Let's see. Noburnbroom.com. Just go to noburnbroom.com, and it should be right at the top. The Article 78. Look for the Article 78 at No Burn Broom, and you will see it. So let's see if there's anything else to discuss here. Basically, it's just the news. I mean, a lot of this is just getting into the details of the lawsuit. It looks very complete. I'm very, 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 very excited and happy. This is the verification. When you have a verified petition, it has to have... there's a man, there's a sworn petition. That's one of the, I guess all you need is one. So that's all they got is one verified signature. So excellent, 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 excellent. Claudia Bramer comes through in a big way on the Article 78 petition. Let me fix this a little bit so we can come back to this whenever they come out of executive session. So this 5G, so what do y'all think about 5G? I'm going to check the chat in 1 second and see if anybody's chatting. I haven't checked it while I was reading that stuff. Okay, let's just bring this up. Okay. Very good. All right, I'm going to check the chat and see if anybody's chatty. Is anybody chatty tonight? Has anybody got any questions? History hunting. Oh, that was... I already read that. Looks like we've dropped off to just a couple of viewers now. So this is exciting, friends. 5G is the next big thing. You got to get on this. If you care about the environment, if you care about human health, you got to get on this 5G. Let me show you a quick website that you can go to. One of the best websites is a website called 5G Crisis. So let me put that up on the screen. Here it is, 5gcrisis.com. 5gcrisis.com, okay? Just search for 5G Crisis. There's a lot of excellent materials here. Sign up for their newsletter. Very, very important. Join our mailing list. There's there's another group, Americans for Responsible Technology. I've got this up. Bring it up over here. Boom. This is another website. Let's see if they have our group on here, because I asked to be added. Okay, they haven't added our group yet. So hopefully they'll add us and give us a link pretty soon. Please join us today. I thought there was a scientific studies. Okay. The other one to join, friends, that I would recommend that you join is our Facebook group. And let me show you what that looks like. If I can find my right window. I always have way too many windows open. So this is a page, okay? There's pages and groups. We have this Facebook page called Stop 5G, Broome County, New York. Stop 5G, Broome County, New York. That's the web page. So you can just come to this group, visit it, and click the like button. If I do this, view as a visitor, so liked, just click the like button, and that way you should get some notifications whenever there's new information. Like I said, I'm really not an expert on this. I'm still learning about. There's the law, there is the technology, and there's the human health impacts. So there's three major areas here, and I'm still learning about this myself. So I'm hoping that we can get a group together. Hopefully by the next meeting, and we can start learning about this together, because this is serious business. We have people in Germany that are burning these towers down, okay? There's very serious human health impacts and privacy impacts. And so I'm going to try to have more people on the show also on the Bill Huston podcast coming up, these regional experts that we can talk about these various issues. The other one is we have a group. We have a group. Where's the group? The other group it's called Stop 5G. This is a discussion group, so anybody can post here, okay? Stop 5G Broome County, open discussion. If you just search on Facebook for Stop 5G Broome, you should be able to find the group and the page. So be sure you interact with both of those, like and join the group and the page on both of those. And so I can show you one thing here. Let's see if I can. I'm kind of done with this one. I just want to show you the one other email, or I foiled. FOIL is Freedom of Information Law, and I foiled the New York State Department of Health. Here's one thing I wanted to show you. There's a very excellent new video out by Derek Brose. Very comprehensive, Derek Brose. So 5G in depth and the resistance. So this was just published. This isn't the one. Stand by. I think it was American last. I think it's on the Last American Vagabond channel. So let me just look for this. Trump quietly signs. See, that's the other thing, there's a lot of people that are looking to Trump to be like this great hero. And, one of the people that I follow is this guy, Max Eigen. He's Australian, but he's really up to speed on a lot of things that are happening globally. And he's saying we got to watch Trump because Trump promised to drain the swamp and he really didn't. And Trump is doing a lot of bad things about the environment. Trump has done a few good things, like passing trade tariffs and stopping the Trans-Pacific Partnership and stopping an airstrike, calling back the generals, ordering them to stand down. They were ready to have an airstrike against Iran. And if you compare the number of airstrikes that are happening worldwide, under Obama, there was one, it seems like multiple ones per week where drones were like wiping out hospitals or weddings and schools. That's what Obama was doing. I found I searched the news over the last 4 years. I found 2 airstrikes that were attributed to Trump. And one of them hit a remote area. I don't think there were even any casualties. That was when he dropped the Moab really early on. And then there was this CIA-backed coup in Bolivia. Other than that, it's like I always say that, Trump looks like frickin' Mohandas Gandhi compared to Joe Biden. Joe Biden has a history of genocide. So I'm not exactly a Trump fan or a Trump supporter or a Republican or conservative or anything like that. But I think just on this issue of the virus, I want to see Joe Biden lose this, because Joe Biden is all about mandatory vaccines and mandatory masks and perpetual lockdowns over this big scary virus with a case fatality rate of 0.26%. And let me tell you one other thing, that all these case numbers that are being talked about are completely bogus. Okay. So this is Last American Vagabond says Trump quietly signs 5G law under cover of coronavirus. This was on March 25th. I'm looking for the Derek Bros show. Where can I find this? Because let me see. Derek Bros. Let's look for 5G. Derek Bros is really a pretty excellent journalist, and New Hampshire releases bombshell report questioning safety of 5G. So Derek Bros is doing some amazing work on this 5G issue, and I'm looking for his most recent posts. If I do posts and look for, I used to be able to search for posts that I've seen. Let's see this. Oh, here it is. No. I mean, it was just, that's October 28. So I'm looking for this video. I would, if I were you, follow Derek Bros, Broze. Follow Derek Bros on all channels, because he really does a lot of super excellent reporting. Here it is. Here it is. I think I found it. Oh no, that's the New Hampshire report. Still looking for this video. So follow Derek Bros on all channels, and a great new doc. Here it is. It's called the 5G Trojan Horse. I encourage you all to watch that. Okay, so I'm giving you some resources that you can look at. So 5G Trojan Horse is an excellent documentary that you can watch that explains a lot of the issues about 5G. And let me see if I can call this up really quick. Ooh, the video is no longer available because YouTube has it deleted. Okay, so let's look on BitChute. See, this is, you know, we're under extreme censorship right now. People point at Trump and say, you know, fascist, But the fascism is more properly called the merger of the corporations and the state. And that was supposedly a Mussolini quote. Who should know? Because Mussolini is one of the people that we tend to associate with fascism. Let's look here for 5G. There's a whole bunch of alternative social media sites, and also here we go, and also like video sites to replace these ones that are under heavy censorship. And one of them is BitChute. So I encourage you to join BitChute, and as soon as you start like subscribing, you have to join in order to subscribe. You'll start getting notifications and of videos as they get posted. This is one that I definitely subscribe to. Although,
Hi, my name's Derek Bros.
Sorry, I want to stop this.
For the last 8 years.
Okay, this is the documentary called 5G Trojan Horse. This is super excellent because it's very, very comprehensive. If you want to learn about the issue, that's one to listen to. Let me give you some more, because I was just looking at my browser history and finding the videos. I'm going to search all the history. How can I? History, show all history. So 5G Trojan Horse. Let me just look at. Oh, let me show you this one. So this was my video. I interviewed one of the people that I would consider to be one of the top experts in all of New York State on the issue of 5G, and her name is Gusti Bogak, or Gusty Bogak. So I encourage you to watch this video. It's a little bit long, hour and a half, but you know, what else have you got better going on than to watch videos? A lot of us are, you know, we're still under various kinds of lockdowns right now. So highly encourage that you watch this one. There's a video called 5G Crisis, What You Need to Know. That's a good one. 5G in 5 minutes. That's one to look at. I know there were others. There was So I thought it was October of 2020. Let's look at 10/20/20. That's where I was. Oh, here it is. Oh, no. If you join, the best thing to do is just to join the group Stop 5G in Broome County, New York. And I'm going to be over the next couple of weeks, especially since there's going to be action on this master license agreement coming up. I'm going to be posting some links on there. And I would encourage you to call, especially if you're a Village of Endicott resident, call the village board individually. Call all 5 members of the village board and tell them, express your concerns about 5G. In order to be really cognizant, we have to learn a little bit. And like I said, I know about radio theory. I know about, radio frequency stuff. I know about physics, but I'm still coming up to speed on this 5G issue. I know enough, and I've seen enough, that there are plenty of very smart people that have human health impacts concerns, and also privacy concerns, and many other concerns about this 5G rollout, especially since, like I said during my comments, that there is no regulation on any level in terms of, there's no regulation at the federal level. The FCC has, I forget, it's Title I, Title II. We can try to look that up to get it exactly right. I don't like to give out bad information. But one of those is basically a If it's a telecom carriers are highly regulated. FCC 5G title. Let's see what it is. FCC acts to accelerate deployment of 5G wireless infrastructure. 5th generation. 5G is not a specific single technology. It's kind of a marketing term. It encompasses a lot of things, including it kind of subsumes all of the previous, like 4G, 3G, 2G. It includes all of those. Some of those are aging out because they're actually reusing the frequency spectrum, but that's the way it works. The gentleman that was from Verizon, what was his name again? His name was Greg Hanley. At the very end, somebody asked him about human health impacts, and he was, FCC has studied it. No, they haven't. They have not studied it in depth. There have been lots of studies, but the FCC isn't paying attention to these studies. The official studies basically were done back in the 1980s that the FCC is looking at. FCC is a completely industry-captured agency. We're still waiting for the village to come back. FCC is a captured agency, so they're not to be trusted. They aren't a regulator like we would imagine them to be, because they're in the pocket. They're relying on license fees, and they have the present chairman. What's his name? Ajit Pai. He's an industry guy. He comes from industry. FCC. Ajit Pai. Let's read his bio. He's an American lawyer who serves as the chairman. Oh, I lost it. Sorry. He serves as the chairman of the FCC. Born in Kansas. What's his background? Yep. With a 2-year stint as an in-house lawyer for Verizon Communications. How about that? So you tell me if this guy isn't in the pocket of industry. He was Verizon's attorney. If that's not a red flag. So I'm still looking for, I mean, there's this Title I, Title II. Title I versus Title II. Let's look at this. Questions. Title I, Title II, the future of net neutrality. There's a lot to study here, friends, and I've been focused on other things, including researching the big scary virus, which, by the way, is fake. There is no pandemic. The deaths have been flat. You want to see this? Let me see if I can call this up. I have very urgent financial needs, friends, so if you can support me, if you appreciate the work that I do, I appreciate donations in any amount. tinyurl.com/donate to Bill Huston is the fastest way for me to receive money, or you can send me money via check or money order at the address up there. I am looking for U.S. states, looking for county, U.S. states. There's two different ones. So this is not the right one. Just stand by. U.S. states. And it's the next one. U.S. states. Here it is. So I got this data that's actually, it's maintained by the New York Times. I'm not finding my graphs. This still isn't the right one. Hopefully this won't go to the next screen. Here we go. I found it. got some new videos coming up, friends. I'm about ready. Been working on one, and it's very interesting. I'm doing some custom animations to try to show you some scale. It's going to be basically on the distribution of wealth in America, and it's a little bit on the shocking side. If you think that you know, by the way, congrats to Pat Dorner and Nick Burlingame again for Pat for winning re-election or being elected. I think this is the first time that Pat was actually elected. Pat Dorner and Nick Burlingame had a phenomenal showing. So here we go. This is current as of, because I download this data is updated on a daily or weekly. So this was the end of last month. Okay, let me just show you this. Speaking of coronavirus, okay. So actually, this isn't really the right one. I had some different graphs that I wanted to show you because everybody, oh, here it is. Yes. So first of all, what we have to do is that they aren't showing new cases. They're showing total number of current cases. So the first thing I had to do was, on these graphs, was I had to basically find a way to show, what we don't know is how long the cases are shown to be active, okay? They're active for, a new case will show with a positive test result, and then it remains active for a while, and then it will age off the list eventually. Or maybe it's perfectly cumulative, I don't know. I kind of assumed it was cumulative because I don't know what other assumptions to make. So this is what data is this? Let me see what we're looking at here. U.S. County. So this is Broome County. This is the Broome County data. And remember at the end of September, Jason Garner got on TV and he was freaking out about new cases, okay? Freaking out. And, oh, look at this, it's the most, because this was back in April. This was at the height, okay? So the blue is the new cases. After I had to mangle the data a little bit to figure out what the new cases are, because like I said, they were cumulative. It just shows these numbers going up and up and up and up and up. So I did the best I could to untangle, made some assumptions to untangle the new cases. And then the red is the actual deaths. So this is a 5-day moving average. Now what I want to show you here is the deaths. So this is 20. This is a regular linear scale, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, okay? Number of new cases. So this was the real spike. Now we have this thing called Farr's Law. Farr's Law says that what you're going to see is with any pandemic, you're going to see a parabola, a parabolic shaped curve of the cases, and then a smaller parabolic curve delayed about 15 to 30 days of the deaths. The deaths are going to be much smaller because not everybody that gets infected will actually die. Not everybody that has symptoms, let's say, dies. So what we can see is this curve here is kind of matched by this curve here. This is kind of a normal Farr. Let's ignore this spike here for a second. This curve on the blue and then this curve on the red is kind of what we normally expect with a Farr's Law. It's a delay in the deaths and it's much smaller. Now, what we didn't see was, and maybe this curve, I don't know what this is. This is supposedly the second spike. This occurred at the end of, in May, there was a spike in cases and there was a spike in deaths too. There's a lot of questions that I have about this data. And this is probably the result of a data error that was corrected. It actually shows the deaths going negative. So chances are is that they overcounted over here and then they subtracted back over here because you actually see the deaths drop, which doesn't make any sense. So except if unless it's a data error. Now, this is the one we really want to look at. This is what started at the end of September. And by the way, what changed at the end of September? Well, the first thing that changed was that they changed the type of test they were using. They started using this mobile test, this quick test. It's called the Abbott. Let me tell you the exact test it's called. It's called ID Now. The Abbott Labs, it's a pharmaceutical company. Abbott Labs ID Now. They got these new machines, and guess what happened? Boink! Got a big spike in cases, and Jason Garner gets on TV and he freaks out, and it's like it's you. It's like it's this is all community spread, and you have to lock down, and you have to wear your mask, and you got to do all this and do all this. But what's strange about this is there are no. You would expect if these cases were real, and most of these cases, by the way, are asymptomatic, which that's the first red flag. Okay. You would expect to see a huge delayed. I have to update this with the latest data. I haven't done it in a couple of weeks, but we'd expect to see a huge spike in the deaths, and we don't see that. In fact, this is the 5-day moving average. If we look at the 7-day moving average, that's a 3-day moving average. Somewhere I have a 7-day. Sorry, this is the 5-day moving average, okay? The deaths, we had a spike back in Broome County. This is the local Broome County data only. This is not looking at the statewide data. We had some spikes of the deaths end of April, beginning of May. And like I said, this sort of corresponds to a typical FARS law, F-A-R-R-S, F-A-R-R apostrophe S, FARS law. This kind of looks like a FARS law kind of a distribution. This one followed by this one that's slightly delayed. This spike, we don't see a FARS law, which means that it looks like that these are false positives. By the way, this PCR test is highly suspect to highly susceptible to false positives. Sometimes up to 50%, 80%, even 100% false positives. There's labs that were shut down, I think in Florida and Texas, because they were producing 100% false positives because they were doing their procedures wrong, or I'm not sure what the issues were, but you can Google that. You can find the news articles. Huge spike here during the summer months. What's strange about this? July, August, nobody's catching. This is a flu-like illness. It's pneumonia. It was originally classified as a sudden onset atypical pneumonia. This was how it was reported by the Chinese press in Wuhan back in December. It was a sudden onset. They called it atypical pneumonia because it wasn't responding to antibiotics, which means they don't know what the cause is. So here's another thing. This is interesting, okay? Connects to 5G. Wuhan, China had 10,000 brand new 5G transmitters that they just switched on in the matter of span of most of them came online in 6 months. They switched on these 5G towers, and all of a sudden people started getting sick with flu-like symptoms. Guess what one of the symptoms are of radio frequency radiation exposure is? Flu-like symptoms. Yes, indeed. In fact, there is a book called Invisible Rainbow by, who wrote Invisible? Arthur Furstenberg. So, Amazon. Hate to show you Amazon, but this is the first link that came up. Invisible Rainbow, A History of Electricity and Life by Arthur, get out of here, Arthur Furstenberg. So go look up this guy's book. Let me bring it over to so you can see it a little bit better. We're still waiting on those people to come back. Okay. Got too many windows open on my screen. Invisible Rainbow. Don't get this from Amazon. Get this from your local bookstore. Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Furstenberg. This goes into the details of the connection between radio frequency, radiation, and electromagnetic fields, and the connection with flu. So there's a lot of questions whether flu is even caused by a virus. Okay, there's a concept called a passenger virus, which was first written about. I got first exposed to it back during the HIV/AIDS discussion. A guy called Peter Duesberg, who is a HIV/AIDS skeptic. I learned a lot from reading Peter Duesberg's work. He talks about a passenger virus that is associated. His whole point was he questions whether HIV really is the cause of AIDS or not, right? So there have been examples in the past of viruses that are associated with certain syndromes or certain clusters of symptoms. However, it fails Koch's postulates, Koch. And what that means is that Koch's postulates has it's kind of a procedure you go through to try to prove that your suspected pathogen causes the syndrome that you're looking at, okay? And so the problem is that Koch's postulates fails for almost all viruses because you cannot isolate viruses in pure culture. You can't grow a virus outside of a living cell. That makes a big problem for Koch's postulates. So Koch's postulates is like at the core of our epidemiological method used to determine whether a disease exists or not for the last 100 years. So the fact that viruses don't follow Koch's postulates is a big problem. And in fact, there's a guy called Rivers. Thomas Rivers, Viruses and Koch's Postulates. I encourage you to go download this and have a look at it. From 1937? I think this is from... I don't see a date on this paper, but it was from the 1930s. I think it was 1937. Oh, look, it was funded by the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research. One thing you want to go look at a documentary by James Corbett called Rockefeller Medicine that will really help you understand some of the current events that's happening today. What kind of medicine did we have prior to Rockefeller medicine? Presidential address, December 1936. Okay, so I think it was 37 when this paper was written. And basically he decides by fiat that he's like, viruses get an exemption from Koch's postulates. And he doesn't give a good reason why. He just says viruses are exempt. Maybe I missed it. Maybe you can go look at this paper and go, if I got something wrong, I'm perfectly willing to correct myself. But I've read this, I've been through it. And I don't see a good reason for why viruses should be exempt from Koch's postulates. Get this paper, Viruses and Koch's Postulates, Thomas M. Rivers, and have a look at it, okay? So there's a lot of questions whether this whole virus theory of disease is even correct or not. But one thing they never did with, we're getting back to our 5G discussion. I'm sorry that I went on this big detour, but Wuhan turned on 10,000 towers, 10,000 5G towers, and everybody started getting sick with the flu. Okay, wouldn't you think that would be looked at as a possible contributing factor? No, they didn't do it. Another thing they didn't do, and this connects to Endicott, is that they have very toxic, hazardous waste incinerators in Wuhan, China, And people are protesting these incinerators in Wuhan. They were doing that in 2016 or 17, maybe even 2018, and maybe later. And let me just look for that really quick. Wuhan. Wuhan incinerator protest. BBC. July of 2019, okay? So right at the same time when they're turning on 5G, and just before the first people started getting this Wuhan atypical pneumonia syndrome, there were simultaneous protests about these incinerators in Wuhan. So you want to see that? I'll show you that really quick. Okay, you can see it right here. So air pollution. People started getting sick in December of 2019 with this new form of pneumonia it's resistant to antibiotics. Did they look at 5G? Brand new change, right? You want to look at, so what changed? 10,000 towers, 10,000 5G towers? That's a huge change. And like I said, electromagnetic radiation, radio frequency radiation is known to produce flu-like symptoms in people. So you'd think they'd look at 5G. You'd think they'd look at these incinerators. Basically, air pollution is causing the pneumonia. Pneumonia is a lung congestion, fluid buildup in the lungs. So did they look at any of those things? No. They ruled out a bacteria because it was resistant to antibiotics, and they jumped immediately on the virus. It's like that was part of the plan, this coronavirus. So there's a lot of a lot of problems with the epidemiological method that was used to determine that a virus was the cause of this syndrome. By the way, where was the largest, outside of Wuhan, China, where was the largest incidence of people getting sick and dying from so-called COVID-19? Where was the largest one? New York City. Yes. Whoever said New York City, you're right. And what's interesting about New York City, 10,000. In fact, I think my friend Gusti, I think she mentioned it was 12,000. 10,000 new towers, I think, just went up in New York City. 10,000. That's a massive rollout. And people started getting sick there too. They're just, and you can't talk about this. If you talk about this on YouTube, I hope this video doesn't get taken down, because you're forbidden from talking about this on YouTube. Any kind of connection between 5G and the big scary virus, they are known to take down videos, even deplatform people. So if I get deplatformed, look for me on BitChute. And look for me on some of these other platforms. Right now, BitChute's the only one the alternate platform I'm using right now. And you can actually see my video on BitChute about the big scary virus, the big scary plague virus. And it's called Hoax Part 1. And once again, I hope this doesn't autoplay. It doesn't autoplay, so here's my video. Please watch this. Hoax Part 1, banned from YouTube. This is my original research. Problems with the timeline. One thing you're going to get out of this is you're going to get epidemiology 101. You're going to learn about epidemiology. You're going to learn about how an epidemiological study normally takes place. Didn't happen here. They didn't consider alternative hypotheses. They never did cohort studies to prove their theory that this was caused by a virus. They rushed this thing through in such a way that it was basically impossible to determine by February 11th of 2020, which is what happened, Tedros Adhanom of the World Health Organization got on TV and said, we found a new virus. It's called COVID-19. Guess what the problem with that is? You have to begin your epidemiological investigation with a well-defined and stable syndrome, and they didn't do that. They started with an incomplete definition of the syndrome. And the CDC was still fiddling with the syndrome until mid-May, at least. I haven't checked it in a while. Let's look for... Let's do CDC COVID CDC COVID symptoms. Yes, that's what I meant. I don't want to know what Google thinks. Okay, let's see. 2019. So, and then there's another thing. There's multiple names for this virus. 2019 nCoV, SARS-nCoV-2, SARS-CoV-2, and there's even another one, human HCoV. I think it's called HCoV 2019. There's at least 4 different names that are used for this. Let's see if they tell us when it was last revised. Is it at the bottom? Last updated May 13th. Okay. So they haven't really done any updates from May 13th. But you just watch my video because I go into the prior, the changes that occurred to this. Fever, chills, cough, shortness of breath, fatigue, body aches, headache, loss of taste or smell, sore throat, congestion, or runny nose. Oh boy, that's pretty much everybody in the wintertime. So that's what I wanted to tell you about that graph, right? That basically why this graph doesn't make sense is because why this spike here doesn't make sense is because nobody's getting sick with any kind of flu-like symptoms in July. It says July to August. Maybe end of June, July, August. Nobody's getting sick with the flu. Oh, this is not a flu. It's not the flu, Bill. Well, it essentially is the flu. The flu isn't a single thing. The flu has many different kinds of bacteria and viruses can cause, supposedly, if you believe the official theory. It's not just a single cause, but the symptoms are similar. And it could be SARS, what's it called? ARS. What does SARS stand for? I should know this. SARS is severe acute respiratory syndrome, and then there's MERS. What's MERS is Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, and then there's ARDS. ARDS is acute respiratory distress syndrome. So there's all these different syndromes that have to do with the flu. There's influenza in addition to all these things. So, the point is, friends, that this data does not pass the sniff test of reason. It doesn't look right. We can't just take this data uncritically. Big spike in the middle of summertime. With no corresponding spike in deaths, I don't believe it. Here's another big spike that just happened at the end of September. The number of deaths in Broome, there was 1 or 2 little deaths that happened in here, but it's so low it gets averaged to 0 because we're doing a 5-day moving average. It's very common. Even, the reporters on TV use a 3 or 5 day or even a 7-day moving average because otherwise it's too jaggedy. You have to do the average to kind of smooth it out because of the way these numbers are being reported. So, this virus isn't real. SARS-nCoV-2 has never been isolated. Look into that. Look for videos by Andrew Kaufman, Dr. Andrew Kaufman. He's actually he's a New York guy. The virus has never been isolated. COVID-19 is not a disease. Watch my video to understand why COVID-19 is not a disease. And lastly, the thing is, let's show this little clip from Carrie Mullis, shall we? Because I want to show you this. This is absolutely critical to understand.
Okay, so today I want to show you why this is the most supportive, most secure, and most stable knee brace you'll ever put on.
Oh my God. This is not the right one. Stand by.
Misuse PCR to estimate all these supposed free viral RNAs that may or may not be there.
I think misuse PCR is not quite. I don't think you can misuse PCR. No, the results, the interpretation of it. See, if you can say, if they could find this virus in you at all. And with PCR, if you do it well, you can find almost anything in anybody. It starts making you believe in the sort of Buddhist notion that everything is contained in everything else, right? I mean, because if you can amplify one single molecule up to something that you can really measure, which PCR can do, then there's just very few molecules that you don't have at least one single one of them in your body, okay? So that could be thought of as a misuse of it, just to claim that it's meaningful. It is. No, there's very little of what they call HIV, and what's been brought out here by Philpott and Isai already. The measurement for it is not exact at all. It's not as good as our measurement for things like apples. An apple is an apple. You know, you can get something that's kind of like, if you got enough things that look kind of like an apple and you stick them all together, you might think it is an apple. But and HIV is like that. Those tests are all based on things that are invisible, and the results are inferred in a sense.
Ate dinner in her house when I was had a babysit for 2 hours.
Back on?
So she run to work.
Now, what do we do now that we're back on? We have to tell everybody why we were off, right?
I think we should identify which one of us said it was only going to be a half hour.
That's right.
That's right.
I think that was me, sorry.
Do we just go on with the rest of our meeting now?
Yep.
Oh, okay. All right, now we come to board member comments. Anything you want to say?
Okay, we're going to rejoin this, friends. I'm going to go away.
Okay, Pat?
Yeah, I mentioned in the beginning about the letter that was read last week, again, from Larry Parnham.
Yes.
I just want to let you know, I take offense to his assumption that inherently, or reading between the lines, have racist tendencies. This guy doesn't know me from Adam, never met him. For him to make that kind of assumption is slanderous, in my opinion. And I will be sending Mr. Parnham a letter asking him to cease and desist, or he'll be hearing from my attorney. So for him to make those kind of comments is outlandish, and I will not sit tight and take that type of comment anymore.
Okay, Joan, have anything to say?
No, I think there's more.
Ted, have any comments?
In general.
Ted, do you have any friends for awareness?
Were you asking me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just had one comment. It's a little political. I apologize, but it's not out of line. I just wanted to congratulate Pat and Nick for their election, and I did go back as far as I could find, and it's probably one of the biggest landslide elections we've had in Endicott. So congratulations to them, and I hope they are excited about being on the board in January. And that's the only thing I had.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, for my comments, I'd like to answer Ellen because she's still on and she's waited a long time. Your questions on Sunjeel, Ellen. Ellen, our code wasn't for Sunjeel, so I really don't keep up with them anymore. As far as I know, they haven't sent, South Korea has not sent in for a new permit, so I have absolutely no idea if they're coming or not. I really don't have anything to do with them anymore. I double checked what was going on. I checked to see if it was safe. I talked to the doctors and stuff involved to find out all the limits and everything, all the safety precautions. But I'm done with Sunjeel as far as that's concerned. I'm moving on. The only other thing we're having for recycling right now is our glass recycling, and that we are interested in. And luckily, we did make those restrictions on our recycling so that we don't get garbage in here, because if we don't keep those restrictions, if those restrictions leave, we're in deep trouble. Because the glass company's not going to bring
Bullshit.
their glass.
There's no
garbage, but
restrictions.
the next company might. So, but I don't really have an answer for Sunjeel. I don't keep up with it. Now, as for your husband's questions on the committees, all the committees are on the website. Now, commissions and boards, the mayor makes a recommendation, and the board, the village board votes on them to decide if they can be on a commission or a board. However, the committees are totally up to me. So if Rob would like to be on a committee, just have him contact me, tell me what he wants, and we'll see if there's room. So I think that answers everyone's questions that have answered. So other than that, Eileen, would you like to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Very good.
I'll
Good.
second.
Very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's go home.
Okay.
Okay, friends, I'm going to wait for them to close out the meeting. It's done. There it is. I'll kill that later. I just want to finish playing the Carrie Mullis clip because that's pretty important. I want you to hear what he says coming up right here, okay?
PCR. It's separate from that. It's just a process that's used to make a whole lot of something out of something. That's what
Also,
it is. But it's not. It doesn't tell you that you're sick, and it doesn't tell you that the thing you ended up with really was going to hurt you. It doesn't tell you that you're sick. It doesn't tell you that you're sick, and it doesn't tell you that the thing.
It doesn't tell you that you're sick. This is the guy. He won a Nobel Prize for inventing the PCR. Okay, he won the Nobel Prize for inventing this thing, so he knows what he's talking about. Okay, and what did he just say? It can't tell you if you're sick. So somebody explain to me why they are using PCR all over the world to basically, you know, say, oh, there's, what did the New York Times say? There's how many millions of new cases, and it's bullshit, friends. Pardon my German, but it's bullshit. These case numbers are ridiculous. These people are not symptomatic generally. If they are symptomatic, they're perfectly treatable with known, well-known remedies such as hydroxychloroquine and steroids. I forget. There's a doctor that was featured on Del Bigtree's show that has a different, besides hydroxychloroquine. There's a steroidal approach that is extremely. He says he hasn't lost one single patient using this regimen. So this virus is a big fake. I'm going to be doing more videos about this coming up. I think I'm going to sign off. Let me just check the chat one more time, see if we have anybody in the chat. Last time I checked, we didn't. And I'm going to come back and we'll talk at another time, live streaming. Looks like we got one person left. So, all right. So I'm going to sign off for now, friends. So we'll see you next time. And please donate to support my work if you can. tinyurl.com/donate to Bill Huston. There is my, how do I do it? I got to do it over there. There's my email address, or my email address and my snail mail address. Sorry for the fuzz on my fingers. P.O. Box 22, Endicott, New York, 13761. Okay, that's it, friends. I hope that you please subscribe to me on YouTube. Just go to the Bill Huston podcast on YouTube and click the notification bell and ask for all notifications. And that's about it. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.